4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, what is going on, guys? We are live on the Lair tonight doing a Dungeon Master Q&A hangout. That means you guys ask the questions, I'll give you some answers and stuff like that. So that's the deal. There are some rules. That's the wrong side. There are some rules right over there. The rules being that if you have a question, you type in hashtag question, all caps, so that I can see it in the chat and get to your question. And if we're lucky, if there is some wonderful viewer out there who would be so kind as to do some timestamps after the fact, maybe list off all of the questions that we talk about and the timestamps to them so that people on the replay can skip to the parts they find interesting, that would be super helpful. I know somebody did that last time, and that was awesome. So if you're lucky, someone will do that, and maybe I might do it if I'm so inclined, but we shall see. So that's what we're doing tonight. It is a Q&A, Dungeon Master, D&D, whatever we feel like. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be about Dungeons & Dragons. It could be about something else. No guarantees that I will be able to give you an intelligible answer, though, if it's about something that lies outside of my area of expertise. So there you go. We got Philip on. What up, dude? Joel is on. Welcome. And we got Sven Silverman and Tactical Tokens. What up, Dave? How's it going, man? Good to see you guys. So this is a Q&A thing. I have like one question from a dude on here that I can answer too. But if you guys got questions, then let's start throwing them down there. We will do this the way we do most of these Q&A things. I'll be on here for, as long as there are questions, I'm usually going to stay on until we get all the questions answered. And once we run out of questions and things get boring around here, then I start to get tired and we all just call it a day. So hopefully we get some questions going on. Cameron, what up, dude? Good to see you, man. Michael Grimes in the house. What's up, guys? All right, I want to see some questions out there. We are putting a hiatus on our adventure creation. I think we probably only have one live stream to go in order to finish our adventure creation. However, those things are really, really hard for me. Like, it takes a lot of energy for me to do those, and I needed a break. And these Q&A things are usually kind of chill and relax and much, much easier for me to, like, do a stream on. And so I'm just doing a Q&A tonight, and then we'll see how it goes. Question. Philip says, question, tips on one-shots. This is Tactical Coffee. So, if it's assuming that a one-shot. John Farrell, what up, dude? Welcome to your first time for everything. You're either gonna love it or hate it. I'm not gonna monotone you to death tonight. I'm probably gonna be a little bit weird. That's just the way it goes around here. So Philip had a question. Tips on one-shot. So I'm assuming that I must be talking like really loud because I can see my mic clipping a little bit. I gotta calm down. Gotta calm down a little bit. Question, so I'm assuming what you mean by one shot, sir, is a game that you're going to run in one session. Usually that's going to run 3 or 4 hours. So the biggest tip I can give you on a one shot is to be flexible on the scenes or the encounters that need to take place. So let's just say that you design there to be 5 scenes. One is going to be your hook that gets everything rolling. And then the last one is going to be, maybe there's like a villain in the one shot. And that is the final scene that needs to happen in order to have your adventure have a sense of completion or fulfillment for your players. Because nothing sucks more than running a one shot and not getting to the end of it and running out of time and being like, sorry folks, I guess you're not going to find out how that happened. So we definitely want to get to the end of the one shot. So the trick to doing that is to make the middle flexible. Make sure that you can pull out one of these scenes if they're taking longer than you thought. If they're taking a long time getting through this scene, that could be an adventure, and it could be an encounter, it could be a battle, it could be exploration, whatever it happens to be. Make sure that these scenes in the middle here are not all mandatory. You want to be able to pull some of them out in order to get along to the end scene if you need to. So that is the biggest tip I can give you. And keep an eye on the time. Have a general idea of like how long your final scene will take. keep an eye on your watch, on the time, and when you get to about the point where you're like, I need to get to my last scene, otherwise we're not going to finish, that's about the time to start pulling out other scenes to hurry this along and get to your final scene. So that's the biggest tip on a one-shot right there. Give your players a satisfactory ending to it. And that's how I do it. That's how I run it. So I run games and conventions all the time. I go to Marmalade Dog every year. That is held in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And then I go to Grand Con. I'll be at Grand Con this fall. What is it? It's like August or something? I don't know. You can look it up. Grand Con Gaming Convention, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I will be there, and when I run my gaming convention games, is that a word? Gaming convention games? Yeah, that makes sense. When I run those games, that's what I do. I pull scenes if I need to, but I want to make sure that they get to the ending of it. And I've always gotten to the ending. Sometimes the endings are a lot shorter than others, but I always get there. So there you go. Arthur! What up, dude? Good to see you again, man. MP has a question. Military police. The military police in the house. Sorry, man. I see MP, that's what I think. I'm like, the cops are coming for me. All right. Type of campaign you love most running and hate most running. Man, that's a hard question. Type of campaign. Like, what do you mean by types of campaigns? How would you... I have a follow-up question. Before I answer your question, what do you mean, like, by types of campaign? Like, what? Give me some examples of different types of campaigns. Like, I could think of, like, an evil campaign. I ran a bit of an evil campaign once. It didn't get very far. It was like a play-by-post thing. I was what do they call it? In between jobs. The stupid euphemism for not having a job. I was in between jobs, and I was doing a play-by-post, and then when I got a job, I was like, give me overtime, and so that I couldn't play anymore. So I don't really know how that went. So I do want to know what you mean by types of campaigns. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you clarify, I will answer your question. Promise. Philip says, is it a sci-fi Fate core one-shot like Event Horizon? And I don't know whose question that's for. True Mate, what's going on, dude? Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. Appreciate it. Boom, there you go. I know it's late for you, so you go get some sleep if you need to. You can always catch us on the replay tomorrow morning or whenever you feel like it. That's how the replay works. Pedro, what up, dude? How you doing, Pedro? Cameron has a question. Tips on writing an investigation. Okay, first thing that comes on top of my mind, investigation. I don't write a lot of investigations type things, I think, but the biggest thing I would say is your players will overlook things. So you want to make sure that there are various clues that you can use as needed. And I wouldn't so just in case they miss the one clue because they're not very quick on their feet or whatever, and they miss the other one, make sure there's some more clues that can kind of lead them down the right way. The other thing that I would say about investigations is you don't want, or try to avoid having there be like some super critical point that they need to pick up on that is only possible if some specific circumstance is met. For instance, there is a dryad that has a clue that is the only way for them to get to point X or whatever, or find out whatever it is, and nobody speaks Sylvan. And so they have no way of communicating with that dryad. And so that could be a hard stop right there. So you got to be flexible. I would think on your feet. If you see, like, this is stuff too that I think you would do as a dungeon master anyway. When you see that your players are like going way off in left field, I mean, there are ways to like subtly bring them back to the main storyline or to what they should be doing. That's if you want to do that. It's totally fine to let them go wander off in the left field and just have fun doing random stuff. But if you want to bring them back on, there's a way to do that. So an investigation is the same way. If they're going off the wrong direction, you can drop clues that away that might bring them back to the main thing. So those are a couple things that come to the top of my mind. Like I said, I don't typically run investigation type adventures a whole lot. Those are just little things that there it is. So. Oh, Sullivan. Sullivan is bringing up Sullivan War Monk. He's got a good one here. All right. First time here. Cool. Welcome, dude. Glad you could join us. So his question is, have you ever experienced the Matthew Mercer effect? Short answer, no. That's interesting you would bring that up, because I've seen some stuff on Twitter, people going back and forth, like things blowing up and people losing it and freaking out and stuff. And it's what was it? There was a video. Who made that video? It was Taking 20 made a video on the Matthew Mercer effect. And I watched well, actually I saw a tweet on Twitter, and it was Matthew Mercer. Matthew Mercer tweeted out Taking 20's video about the Matthew Mercer effect, right? And it was clear to me that Matthew Mercer actually watched his video. It was not clear to me that anybody else in the Twitter commenting stuff fiasco watched the video, okay? Because I saw this blowing up and I was like, what the heck is going on, you know? And so I went and watched Taking 20's video, and the dude brings up a lot of good points, and he doesn't say anything negative or bad or anything, right? It's all really positive stuff that I thought was like empowering to the community, you know. Nothing negative about Mercer and Critical Role or anything, but people were just like flipping out about it. But that's like a tangent. I don't know. I'm just probably opening up a can of worms there. But anyway, he's asking me about the Matthew Mercer effect, and in case anybody is not in the know, and I might not be in the know, except that I saw that whole tweet. Like, that wasn't that long ago. That was like 5 days ago or something like that. Gotta get the coffee going through my system. The Matthew Mercer effect is basically the idea that it's the idea that because Critical Role is so popular and people watch this, they get it. This is the theory. I don't know that this is true, okay? This is what the theory of the Matthew Mercer effect is. I'm just saying what it is. Don't start crucifying me yet. The idea is that because people watch Critical Role and Matthew Mercer, they get it into their minds that is like the only way to play D&D, or that is the way a D&D game should be, and if the DM is not as good as Mercer, then he's not a good DM or something like that. And so the idea is that the theory is that players, because they're like watching Critical Role, they will take that as like the golden like way to do D&D, and they will come to a normal D&D game and they will say basically, you know, if you're not doing it Mercer's way, then your D&D game isn't up to standards or something like that. Which is yeah, I want to see a DM do the voices and the narration and stuff that Mercer does. That's not going to happen very easily, folks. So that's the Matthew Mercer effect. And what do I think about it? So he asked me if I'd ever experienced it. I haven't. I think most of my players have never even watched Critical Role. Most of them don't even watch YouTube. And they're not like old or like ignorant or anything. They're most of my players about my age, maybe a little bit younger, some of them, and they just don't watch it. You know what I mean? Some of them probably have. They're probably familiar with it, but I've never experienced that, you know, and I don't know. It would be interesting if somebody actually were to come into one of my games with those sorts of expectations. I don't think I would care. They can expect whatever they want. They're going to get my game, and I'm going to play D&D the way I play D&D. I have no desire or aspirations. I don't try to do anything the way any other dungeon master does it, whether it's Matthew Mercer, whether it's Matt Colville. Like, I respect what those guys are doing, and I like both of their things. Mercer runs a D&D show. Colville runs more of what I would consider to be an actual D&D game, of like normal people who aren't like famous voice actors. That's a totally different thing when you take it there. So I respect what those guys are doing. I love it, you know, but I do my thing, you know, and I'm not too concerned about that stuff. So I don't know if that adequately answers your question or something. If you got follow-up questions, feel free to throw them at me. I know this is one, what do they call it? They call it the hot button topic. Oh, people get all worked up about this stuff. I don't know why. I don't see why it's such a big deal. Everybody does different things, and we're all playing different games. Everybody's playing a different game, right? And everybody's fun is a little bit different. And there's a whole wide variety of ways to play Dungeons and Dragons. There's no, and if you think about it, how long ago? 20 years ago? 25? Surely 30 years ago, back in the 90s, like almost nobody had internet. Like, so when I was starting to play D&D, it was about 1995 or so, thereabouts, when I started playing D&D. When I was like in high school, thereabouts. And I didn't even have email. I didn't have internet. Okay, there was like internet at my school, and like I was hearing about email. I'm like, what's email? Email, ooh. And I get like, I don't even know what the heck it was, but I had dial-up at one point when I was like in high school, like right before I went to college. Then I got to college. I went to the University of Michigan, and when I got to college, we had like super fast internet. It was really cool. But back in those days, there was no comparison. You didn't see anybody else run D&D. You ran your D&D, whatever you figured out to do. Like, I got the rulebook, I got the second edition rulebook, and the player's handbook, and I'm like, all right, it's a game, I'm just gonna figure it out. I don't know how to play this. I've never seen anybody play it. I started dungeon mastering with never having played before, because it's like, you gotta figure it out. Who's gonna teach you? I can't go on the internet. I was like in high school and crap. I didn't know about gaming stores or anything. So you just figure it out and you do it your way. And I think there were pockets probably all over the place of people just feeling their way through it and figuring out their own way to play it. And so there were like thousands of groups, all doing their own unique way of Dungeons and Dragons and having a blast doing it. And there was no one universal way to do it, So I don't know. I probably talked that topic out enough a little bit, unless people have old. 4 elementals calling me old. All right, dude, whatever, man. Why don't you come, like, arm wrestle me or something, and we'll see who's old, because that's a proof of age. All right, I want to see. I'm gonna go back in the comments a little bit. Remember, if you got a question, hashtag question in the comments, and I will get to your question. Bum bum bum. Joshua Solt is in the house. What up, dude? Joshua, I have your question. You asked me a question. I think it was like a question in one of your comments that you had on the phone. See, I'm like holding the phone up, and that's trying to tell you, I don't know what that means. I should put that down. Anyway, dude, I'm planning on answering your question here. I want to see what's going on in the comments. Oh, Josh, are you with us? Are we on like the PA system at like some gaming store, or are you here in person? All right, I see some questions up here. I gotta find some. Oh, MP is the monster police. I like military police, man. I think that's cool. MP says, loosely what I think is something like that. Yeah, an evil campaign, hex crawler, mega dungeon, lighthearted, high fantasy. I got you, dude. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through the examples you gave me. Evil campaign. Like I said, I never really played a whole lot of that, so I won't belabor that point. Hex crawler. I've never done that. I would like to do that. I think that's like an old school-ish way of doing things, and I think that could be fun. There could be like a nostalgia factor there. I recently played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I played like first edition, and I played like the pre-first edition, the one where you had like 3 different books, like Chainmail and some other crap that all went together. Like, I played that recently at Marmalade Dog 24 with Larry Hamilton, I believe is his name. He has a YouTube channel called Follow Me and Die, and I played with him, and it was tons of fun. I really liked playing those old school games. Like, it was just this nostalgia throwback where it was like the rules are imperfect, and you just accept it and you embrace it, and it was lots of fun. So, Hexcrawler, haven't done it, would like to. What else we got going on? Mega Dungeon. I've never ran a Mega Dungeon. I'm about to, though. I'm actually running Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage right now with my youngling group. They're like kids that are around 14, 15 years old. There are 4 of them, and they have begun Dungeon of the Mad Mage. They're on level 1 still. It takes a while. Dungeon of the Mad Mage is a mega dungeon. It's massive. I like it a lot, though, so far. There's a lot of story elements and stuff in there. I do have some thoughts of how to improve it. I might do a future video on ways to improve Dungeons of the Mad Mage for a DM who's starting to run through it. So that might be a future video out there. But I'm liking it a lot. It's a lot different than other things I've run before, but I think I'm liking it. I think I'm liking that. I don't think it's for everybody, though. I don't think it's for everybody, for sure. Lighthearted high fantasy. So it's interesting. I run 4 different D&D groups right now. Okay, my 2 weekend groups on Saturday and Sunday are fairly, I would call them serious games. I mean, we joke around and have fun and razz each other and laugh our butts off, but they're kind of serious games, right? The youngling group it's less serious because they're kids, and I'm not gonna be a jerk. I'm not a jerk to any of my players, but I'm not gonna be as hardcore with them, I suppose. It's a little bit more lighthearted. But my Thursday group that I play with coworkers every Thursday at lunchtime at work where I work. That's good English for you. Anyway, for that game, that's very lighthearted. And it's kind of a little bit loose-ish with the rules and stuff, and I'm just kind of meh, whatever. I'll just allow things that I normally wouldn't allow in my other games and stuff, and I like that. It's a lot of fun. It's good to just be able to just kick back and be having fun and stuff. So I definitely like that. Political gritty. I've never played a political gritty game before. I know Matthew Colville likes politics and stuff like that in his games. I think that would be interesting to play that. I've never done that before, and I've never played in a game like that before. I guess the theme here is that things I've never done before, I would like to try. Because I think that experiencing a wide variety of things is fun and interesting to me, and it also helps me to have a wider range of things that I am aware of and familiar with and possibly can incorporate into my own games or stuff. I've been playing Call of Cthulhu a lot at gaming conventions whenever I can, and I love it. I love the mechanics of Call of Cthulhu. Really, really fun. There's not a lot of combat in Call of Cthulhu. Once things start going down, people die fast. So you avoid combat. But it's lots of fun. All right. Let's see. Paul Schreiber, what up, dude? He says Helvetica or Ariel? Helvetica. Only because Ariel has been the default font for forever. But Microsoft recently changed to Calibri, which is a nice breath of fresh air. So I'll go with that. I'll go with Helvetica, I suppose. I probably just lost half my subscribers. They're all what? Helvetica? Screw that! Segoe is a great font. I'm going to type it in. I don't think I'm saying it right. Segoe? I don't even know if I just spelled that right. But that's a great font, too. I use it a lot at work. That's one of our favorite fonts. One of our favorite. My tech rating team is that's our favorite font. We use that a lot. Mike P, what up, dude? He says, you know what? Hold on, Mike P. Josh, I'm going to get to your question, dude. Did Josh answer me? I want to know where Josh is. He's at GameStop. All right, dude. Well, welcome, GameStop customers. I'm going to answer Josh's question now. Josh, please raise your hand. Yep, that's the dude I'm talking to. All right, so Mike P, I'll get to your answer. I'll get to your question in a second here. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. Josh had a question. I'm going to read his question. He left it in a comment on one of my videos. He says, is it wrong to want to kill a character because the way he is played makes it really hard to DM? He is constantly using his character to say F it and fight those he shouldn't yet. He is also leaning into murder hobo territory. Well, it's not a moral question. I would not just off a character, just for the reasons stated here. What I would rather do is talk to the player. I think that's usually how most of my problem solving begins when I have a problem. Usually when it makes sense to do so, I try to pull the player aside and talk to him. Usually I try to, say, hey, I've noticed this behavior. You're doing these things. I'd like to understand why you're doing these things. Try to get his explanation, get his side of things to understand why he's doing it, right? Sometimes you'll find an answer there. Sometimes you'll find a problem that you can help resolve. Sometimes you'll find a way that you can bring him more in line with the type of game that you envision running. And then I would explain to him why the things that he's doing are causing an issue for your game. And then I would make sure he understands why those things are causing an issue. Let them know how it makes you feel, how it makes the players feel, why it caused a disruption, things like that. Explain your side of the story well. So we're having a conversation. We're understanding his side of the story. Where you're explaining your side of the story, right? And then at the end of this, more than likely, you're going to ask him to refrain from the behavior that's causing a problem, right? And if there is something that you can do to help him, whatever, there might be a reason he's doing these things that you can help him to resolve this as well. So try to come to an idea here of what can be done to resolve the situation, right? And I think that's the first step of any problem solving with players in your group. And so I would try doing that. I have never just killed a character because there was a problem with the player. I always address the root source, right? I go to the player, I talk to the player. If then that problem is irreconcilable, then it's usually not killing the character. It's usually asking the player to leave the group, right? Because the character is not the problem. And if the player is talked to and, and just doesn't want to correct his ways, then there's a solution to that. I think that sometimes it's a matter of, asking, it depends on how bad the behavior, well, here's the thing too, you have to determine how bad is the behavior, right? Is this something that is derailing the group? Is this something that is making other players want to leave or making them upset? Is this something worth asking him to leave? Or is this something that we can continue to deal with and we'll just live with it, right? So that's a decision you got to make as well, right? Obviously, this is like extrapolating down the road, assuming you've already talked to him and stuff like that. But sometimes it's important, sometimes it's critical to, if you have a super, super problem player, that person could start driving your good players away from the game. And if you don't deal with that problem player, then you're soon going to find yourself with 0 of your good players, and you're going to be left with that one dude who's causing all the problems. And you don't want to be stuck there. So you got to man up. I'm not necessarily talking to you, Josh, to man up, but sometimes we as dungeon masters, we got to man up or woman up or whatever up, and we got to resolve that issue and take care of that before it destroys our group. So that's my answer to that. That's my thingy. So there you go. All right, Mike P has a question. I teased it out. I was going to answer his question, and then I pivoted over to Josh's, then I'm coming back to him, and then I hope I don't get distracted again. He says, what is your opinion on the concept of all the way pirate campaign? Yeah, do it. That'd be cool, dude. Either your carrots are pirates, or you're running a naval campaign, right? Yeah, why not? I would do it, dude. You're gonna need some rules on. You're gonna need to do some research on ships. There are some ships listed in Dungeon Master Guide. I would do some more reading on naval ships and stuff like that. I would read about anything and everything about sailing, nautical stuff. I would learn some of the terms of all of the different sails that are on ships, ropes and junk like that. I don't know anything about that stuff, and so I couldn't run a game like that currently. I would need to do some research first. But I think it'd be fun. I mean, I'm sure I've never run a game like that. I've never been in a game like that, really. And so I think it would be something novel and fun and interesting for players to experience. So I would definitely give it a try. I would probably do a session 0 or something with your players first to kind of pitch them an idea and kind of explain what it would be like to get some buy-in, before just going and doing it. But I would say that is probably true of any game before you begin it, to get buy-in from your players on it. But yeah, go for it, dude. John Farrell says, is there any magic item that you refuse to include in any of your campaigns? Our DM refuses to use Cube of Force. I'm not familiar with Cube of Force. I can tell you, though, that without a doubt, Cloak of Displacement will never, nunca, jamás be in one of my games. Cloak of Displacement is forbidden. All right? Not going to have it. It is crazy powerful. I have one of my players right now with Cloak of Displacement. Can't hit him. Impossible. I mean, it's even the player admits, he's yeah, this is messed up. This is really bad. Really, really bad. Okay? It's a messed up, broken... It just is. It just is. I would never allow it anymore. I tried it. It's been in my games a couple times. Never doing it again. What's another magic item? I swear there was one other one. It's like weapon. I think it's Weapon of Warning or Shield of Warning or something like that. And my gripe with that weapon is not necessarily so much that it's like super broken, but it's like an uncommon item, I think, and it's actually really powerful. Not being able to be surprised is huge in the game. So I have my qualms about that one too. The infamous Deck of Many Things, I reserve that one for late in the game so that when bad crap happens, like, the game's kind of over anyway. But I know there are people that love to introduce that early, and it will ruin your campaign one way or another. It doesn't mean that your game will be ruined. It means that whatever you were planning on doing with your campaign will probably change as a result of encountering the Deck of Many Things. So things will be diverted, more than likely, due to what happens from opening it. So its reputation is well earned, though I think it's a lot of fun. depending on how you view fun. It irrevocably destroyed one of my player's characters when it was introduced into my game. Yeah, Arthur agrees about Helvetica. That's awesome, dude. I'm way behind in the chat, obviously, because I'm answering questions. All right, Wingding. Wingding. Dun 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 dun. 4 Elemental says, how do you deal with players wanting to do the same role that one player failed at? Yeah, so piling on the rolls. I don't do piling on the rolls. If somebody failed at something and then the next person's like, well, I want to do it too. I want to do it too. I want to do it too. Usually then I let one person do with advantage. You know, if somebody's like, well, I want to check for secret. Actually, you know what? My players are actually pretty good about this. My players are pretty good about not metagaming, and like if somebody rolls low, then like going and checking for it. And when they do double check, it's usually because like somebody who's bad at finding things looks, and then the group is like, dude, you suck at finding things. We're gonna have the rogue look or something like that. But the way I handle piling on the rolls is, first of all, one of the things that prevents this a lot is there are certain types of checks that I require a character to be proficient in to even attempt. And that's not in the rules. That is my own special thing. And my reasoning is thus. A wizard probably has a good understanding of how spells work. A wizard who is proficient in Arcana understands spells. So, but if a barbarian has very little idea of how spells work. So what I don't like about being able to try anything, whether you're proficient or not, is that a barbarian could roll an 18 and know how a spell works. A wizard who studies spellcasting his entire friggin' life could roll a 2 plus like 11 and get a 13 and not know how that spell works that like an enemy just cast. And so I think that there is just a high level of just lack of logic to that system. And so there are certain things like usually knowledge checks. They're almost always knowledge checks. Arcana, religion, history, and nature. Those are things that in order to usually figure something out, something more advanced knowledge about something, like what a monster can do, what his vulnerabilities are, or the history of like I'm not gonna know. If I don't study, I studied a little bit of World War II history, but I don't know much at all about World War I. And so like it does mean if I'm trying to roll a dice to know something about World War I, I'm not gonna know a dang thing about it, except that it's like trench warfare. That's really all I remember about World War I. All right, and so that's my reasoning on it. That prevents a lot of piling on the dice right there. Things like perception and stuff like that, I'll have people roll with advantage. If everybody in the group is looking, then one person can roll with advantage. That represents the group effort, and so that prevents the piling on the dice a little bit there. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, if you have another case that question my answer doesn't answer, then you let me know. But I think I've got that a little bit. I think I answered that somewhat well. So there you go. All right, cool. I did want to let you guys know real quick as well, before we go on to the next thing, that I have released a new adventure out on DriveThruRPG. Want to let you guys know about it. This is my time to plug my crap. So it's over on DriveThruRPG. There is a link down in the description. It's called Into the Darkness. It's like $1. It is it's a pretty cool adventure. I ran it at Marmalade Dog 24. Some people over there had a blast. So go check it out if you feel so inclined. I just got done making it up and publishing it and all that good stuff. This is like a little preview of it. So, it's got all this kind of stuff. It's got like text and read aloud junk in it. It's got maps. I did the maps in, where did I do the maps? Dungeon Fog. I use Dungeon Fog for the maps, which is a really cool program. So yeah, there you go. There's my little plug. Bam. I got my plug in. I feel happy. All right, let's continue with questions. Woo! Where are we at? I did for elementals. Wiggles is like, what up, liches? Wow. Mike P says, what is your opinion on players making their own subclass to make classes like fighter more interesting to them? So, I don't have an issue with it necessarily. The only point that I would make is that I would be especially careful as a dungeon master to review any player-created or homebrew subclass. I would compare it with the other subclasses and try to make sure that it is more or less at the same power level as like official subclasses, because there is a huge tendency for player-made stuff or homebrew stuff to be incredibly overpowered. It's just, that's what it is. I've seen lots of them all over the place. And almost all of, I would say the majority of them, when I compare them to something officially made, I'm like, dude, the homebrew thing is much more powerful. And I have noticed this with not all of my players, but enough of my players. Players always want to get more powerful. That's part of the game. Leveling up, getting magic items, being more powerful so you can fight more monsters. So it is kind of inherent to a certain extent to want more power. And so when they're designing their own subclass, they're probably going to try to push that boundary of power a little bit. So as the dungeon master, you got to keep a very close eye on that. I don't have any qualms necessarily with people making their own subclasses, but you got to keep an eye on that and analyze that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Where are we at? Philip has a recommendation. He says I should try Fate Core. It is a setting neutral system, and he loves it. All right, dude. I could give that a try. If I see that at one of my gaming conventions, I will try that. I don't want to run it. I want to usually if there's a game I've never played before, then I usually try to, and I'm interested in it. I look for it in the gaming conventions that I go to, and I try to play it so I can get introduced to it. Wiggles says, he says, I aim for Matt Colville, but understand and accept I'm never going to be as good as any of you YouTube guys. I get what you're saying, Wiggles. I think there is a misconception, possibly, about how good at games the YouTube guys run. I don't consider that I run a particularly super spectacular game. I mean, if you compare me to some other games that are really popular on YouTube and crap like that, I mean, my game is probably mostly an average D&D game. I don't think it's in that, and I think that's actually one of Matt Colville's premises for doing his own live stream game, is that he wanted people to see that he is running a normal D&D game. It's just a bunch of people, geeks, nerds, whatever, hanging out and playing D&D. That there's nothing super spectacular about what they do, that it's something that anybody can do. And that's one of the reasons he wanted to do it, to just as a way to encourage people that, dude, you don't gotta be crazy super spectacular. Just get together with some friends or some strangers and play D&D. And if you're having fun, then who cares if you're not as good as some dude who has a YouTube channel, So yeah, that's what I got there. And then 4 Elemental then calls me old. All right. This is an interesting question. John Farrell brings this up. I'm a ways back in the chat. I'm always back in the chat. He says that His opinion on Critical Role is that some of it's rehearsed. I mean, they are actors. My opinion, of course. You know, this is interesting. This is all supposition. Nobody knows except for them and possibly some insiders. My suspicion is that I don't know that it's rehearsed, but they all know that they are on a D&D show. And they all know they're there to put on a show. They're there to entertain the audience. That is their primary purpose. And so they play well with each other. They play off from each other. They don't interrupt Matt when he's giving a narration, when he's giving a description and stuff like that. And so I think they're all on the same page. They know what the goal of the show is. They know what their objective is, and they're all working together to do that. Now, I'm certain of that. Whether they rehearse things in advance or, I'm sure, I absolutely guarantee you that, like, the voice actors rehearse their voices in advance. Like, when I'm preparing a special voice, like this morning I helped my buddy John record a video, and I was going to do a Russian accent in it. And so this morning I was practicing my Russian accent so that I can make sure that when the video came, I was kind of ready and had my good Russian accent ready so that we could talk about things. You know what I'm saying, my friends? And I don't know how good that was. Some Russian's going to be like, I'm offended. Anyway, I'm sure they practice their accents. I'm sure they practice some things ahead of time. Who knows? I don't know that it's rehearsed. I think they're just really good. I think they're just really good actors, and they know they know the business. They know what they're doing, and they're good at it. So anyway, who knows? It's entertaining at least. I just wish there was less talking and more combat, but that's me. What am I playing? I think I talked to, who was that? It might have been my buddy John at work. I think I was talking to him, and he was like, I tried to watch some of Critical Role, and all they did was talk, and there was like no combat, and he's like, I couldn't take it. So I don't know. That was his opinion of it. Let's see. Wiggles. Tactical tokens. I'm trying to find some questions. My favorite chip. I think you're asking my favorite ship. Princess K's in the house. Welcome, Princess K. It looks like Arthur. Arthur has a question. We'll get there. Let me get a drink. All right. Arthur's question. I have a more slice of life personal style, and our other DM have a more world-centered style. But sometimes we have a player who expects certain styles are not ours. How do you deal with it? I mean, there are two ways I would deal with that, I think. So the first thing is that recognizing that all players are going to have different preferences for how their game is, I try to run a game that appeals to lots of different player styles and player types. For instance, there's lots of combat in my game. There's also lots of social interaction. That's what people call role-playing. Okay, the whole game is role-playing. It's like my pet peeve. People are like, I like the role-playing part of it. The whole game is role-playing. When you are killing monsters, you're role-playing a fighter, because that's what fighters do when the talkie-talkie doesn't work. You know, when the rogue is stealing stuff and getting in trouble and fleeing from the law, he's role-playing a rogue. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the whole game's role-playing. The social interaction is when you're having a talkie-talkie moment. Okay, but anyway, that's a tangent. Anyway, like, so I know lots of players like combat. I mean, 90% of the core books and your character sheet are combat. So let's have some combat. And players like social interactions, so let's give them some social interactions. Player like exploration. People like delving into their backstories. There's a wide variety of things that people like, and so as much as possible, I try to, cater to a little bit of each. Now, my games are probably going to have a bent toward a certain way, because that's my personal style, but I always try to keep in mind that some people like different things, so I want to make sure I try to find out what it is that a player likes, and then I try to give that player a little bit of what he likes, if that's not something I would normally do. I try to do that as much as possible. I'm certainly not perfect at it. So that's kind of what I do. I definitely have my style. If I know somebody likes something else, I'll try to give him a little bit of that so that he doesn't feel totally left out. It's possible, though, that there could be like an irreconcilable difference, right? The things that I do and that I'm willing to do, just don't mesh with another player, and that it might not work out. Not everything's meant to be, but I think that's kind of how I try to deal with that, if that makes sense. Wiggles says arm wrestling is such an old man style of. Actually, you know what? The way I would resolve a difference, I'd want to do a grappling match with you. Let's do some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, buddy. That's how I would resolve my differences. I'd have fun with that. Let me see. Questions. Looking for questions. Oh man, I just jumped all over the place. Oh. Game Master's Vault, what's going on, man? My chat jumped. And then I'm trying to find where I was. It jumped really fast. Wiggles says, have you run any of the adventures we have created here, and if so, how'd it go? Yeah, Trouble in Roundhill. That's one of the adventures that we created on one of the streams, like a while ago. And I ran that. Actually, we just finished running that with my Thursday group at work. It went really well. I think it was a lot of fun. They ended up destroying the entire village of Roundhill. It was awesome. And now they're like the gnomes, the surviving gnomes are talking about the genocide that happened to them and stuff. So it was fun. If you guys are interested in what we're talking about, they're over on my website, thedmlayer.com. There you can get free adventures and stuff. Actually, there's a link right there is a link to it. And you can download on my site the Trouble in Roundhill, and you can get the adventure for free. So, if you want to know what we're talking about. Thatco. I started off with Thatco, dude. Second edition Dungeons & Dragons was all about Thatco. That was my thing. Hello, nerds, says Game Master's Vault. Do I want to know what Thatco is? Thatco stands for To Hit Armor Class 0. And it is the most convoluted, confusing, backwards system that anybody has ever devised in a game, as far as I'm aware of. As far as I'm aware of. And I will be shocked if there's something more confusing that somebody thought of. It's really bad. Dun dun. Mike P says, oh, that was the second question. Okay, I already got that one. Yes, bad to kill the character. Don't blame the character. We need questions, people. I'm looking for questions. So Joshua says, because it's who he is always his answer when I ask why. He's purposely being aggressive to all PCs. Then he needs... Okay, this is a bullcrap thing, dude. Like, crap you not. What was it? Matt Colville just put out a video that talked about that very thing. Like, crap you not, about a week ago or so. He called it the Wang Rod defense. All right? Go look at that video. Don't look at it now. Don't abandon the stream. I'll give you a summary of like what Matt was talking about in his video. Really good video. The Wang Rod defense is basically, it goes like this. Let's pretend that I'm a player. I created a character, and the character is being a Wang Rod in the game. The character is doing things in the game that are disruptive to the game that nobody else at the table, none of the other players and Dungeon Master appreciate. The Wang Rod defense is, that's what my character would do. That's what my character would do. Well, who made that character, Sir Wang Rod? You made it. You made a character that is going to be disruptive to the game, that's going to upset people at the table, that's going to screw with what the DM is trying to run. Okay, you. Nobody else made that character. Nobody else forced you to run that character. You made that character. You are the one deciding how to roleplay that character. Okay, so the Wang Rod defense is, that's what my character would do, and using that to justify actions in game that are disruptive and that cause problems. And so I don't put up with that crap. That is a BS answer, totally screwed up, and like, I shoot that crap down. That's bullcrap. And I go straight to the point, and I tell the player exactly what I just told you guys. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Then guess what you need to do? You need to make a new character that doesn't behave that way. There you go. End of line, bottom of story, whatever. Period. So that's the answer to that. Roll up a new character then. Bring a character to the table that is going to work well with the group, that is going to have a reason to adventure with the group, that is going to have a reason to go on the adventures with the group. Don't bring a character that wants to go off and Lone Ranger crap. Don't bring a character who just wants to kill all the NPCs. Don't bring a character who wants to steal from other players and get them pissed off. Don't bring anything. Anything that... Now, it depends on the game you're running. The things that I just listed off might not be a bad thing for your game. I'm not saying that they necessarily are. But those are the things that traditionally, for the most part, cause problems in games. And so, tell the player, make a character that's not going to do those things. Make a character that's going to fit into the game that we're running. Okay? And that's my response to the Wainwright defense. You know, don't give me this bullcrap answer of like, that's what my character would do. I'm just role-playing my character. No, that's bullcrap. That's a load of horse crap. I could do a whole rant here. Okay? That's just some stupid, messed up crap. And we're going to move on. Unless people have follow-up questions. Because I think I made myself clear. All right, Pedro. He says, what tips do you have to prepare and run one-shots? So, Pedro, I answered that question at the very beginning of the stream, probably before you hopped on. So, if there are other questions, I'm going to do the other questions first before I repeat that answer. However, you can always jump back and catch it at the very beginning if you'd like. But I'm gonna get some fresh stuff if there's some more stuff here waiting for me. Game Master's Vault says, it's what my character would do as a total cop-out. Yep, it is. Philip says, Luke, do you read H.P. Lovecraft since you've played Call of Cthulhu? I have never read H.P. Lovecraft. I've never done it. I think I'd probably enjoy it. I think it would be interesting to me. I've just never done it. And I don't get a lot of time to read anymore. I listen to tons of audiobooks. And like that when I'm driving in the car, I listen to some podcasts maybe. I listen to a lot of, but I don't have a lot of time to read these days. I should though. Oh, look at Eric. Eric Easel is like, send him to Colville's recent video on the Wainwright defense. There you go, buddy. Totally. So you saw it too. That's awesome. I love that crap. I killed the cleric in his sleep. Why? It's what my character would do. Yeah, it's such a bunch. They just do a Helvetica update. I don't know. I don't use Helvetica. I don't tend to use Helvetica in my stuff. I use other fonts. Kuth! Hello, Kuth! How are you doing, man? Welcome, Kuth. I'm just reading through your chat. Drop questions. Give me questions. Give me questions. Hashtag all caps question mark down in the chat if you have a question. If we run out of questions, then I'm not going to have anything to talk about, which means that I'm probably going to go to bed. So hook me up with some questions. Keep this bad boy rolling. And what we got going on? Trying to find some questions. ¿Cuántos años tienes? Yo tengo... ¿Cuántos años tengo? Yo creo que como vamos a ver. Vamos a ver. 38. 38. Ahí está. ¿Te gusta, vos? Alright, moving on. I'm just answering Philip's question, folks. The subtitles down below are in English if you don't speak Spanish. So I hope you caught that. You can turn the subtitles on. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. So Eric says, I want some of the awesome D&D streams like you. Oh, thanks, buddy. To try Savage Worlds. That system is awesome, but is sorely lacking in good, inclusive ambassadors. You know, that is interesting, dude. That's the one Coble made, Adam Coble, and crap like that. He made that one, my understanding is, and he made Dungeon World. Now, I have read lots of good stuff. I've heard lots of good stuff about Dungeon World. I so want to try Dungeon World because I think there are some mechanics in there that I really like how they sound. I also love D&D a lot, so it would probably be more like trying it out and playing it a little bit. If I run across somebody playing Dungeon World or Savage Worlds at a gaming convention, I am all over that. But yeah, I think those would be lots of fun. One of the things that I liked about Dungeon World is that the enemies don't actually make attacks or anything. The players make all of the attack rolls, and if they roll poorly, then the enemies end up like doing damage to them or something like that. I thought that was really cool. I thought that was interesting. So I think there's some cool stuff to be learned from there. It felt like the game mechanics were a little more fluid maybe, and you didn't get bogged down too much in the rules. However, that said, I think Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition does a great job of making the rules a lot easier to use and follow and making your game fluid. Wow, this coffee's doing a number on me. So there you go. Arthur says I try to do something for everyone, but it doesn't mean I'm good at it. No, it doesn't, dude. I'm not good at everything either. There's probably my players would be the best ones to tell you what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. I'm sure there are skills that I'm sorely lacking. I do the best I can, but I'm just not super good at them, you know. And there are other things that I'm probably really good at, you know. But we just do the best we can. That's all we can do. Pedro says Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, dude. I love BJJ. I love that crap, man. It's so much fun. It's fun. I do martial arts and crap like that, but I do like Taekwondo and junk like that. I have a black belt in Taekwondo, but that's like, whatever. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that stuff is the bomb. It's so much fun, and you're so exhausted afterwards. Oh my gosh. I remember the first time in my class that I actually tapped somebody out. I was like, yeah! I tapped somebody out once too because like I did like a hold like this, and the only reason I tapped him out was that I was pulling his leg up too far, and I was putting a stretch on his hamstring, and he wasn't very flexible, and he tapped because of that, and I was like, that's weird, but that's pretty cool. Whatever. Anyway, this is not a BJJ stream, so, and I'm not very good at it. I'm just like, I know a little bit. I've done a little bit of it to know that it's really fun, you know, but I'm not like ranked or anything like that. So I don't want you guys to think more of me than I really am. I don't want to misrepresent myself, because BJJ is hardcore. Like, these guys are hardcore. Serious. And the good guys are good. Oh my gosh. Dude, I'm a big dude, like, and I got some strength on me and crap like that, but like, I was grappling once, this was a couple years ago, I was going against some guys who were like, dude, freaking half my size maybe, and they didn't have any like visible muscle on them really, but dude had strength just from constantly grappling and moving body weight and stuff like that. It was amazing. And he was, I think he was a purple belt or something like that, which is like pretty high in BJJ. And so he knew what he was doing too. So he was using his body and leverage and crap like that, probably to compensate, whatever. Anyway, let's move on. That's not what we're talking about today. Let me see. Wingrod. What's up, Bromos? How's it going, buddy? Welcome to the stream. Chat went silent when Daddy started yelling. What was I yelling about? Oh, about the wing rods and crap. Oh, okay. Everybody's like, oh, stop. We're gonna be quiet. Daddy's yelling at us. That's funny, man. That's why I'm at the bottom of the stream. I got all the way to the bottom now because like I started yelling about wing rods and like that's what my character would do. That's a bunch of crap, man. All right. I've not played Savage Worlds. I think I answered that. Ignore my question. You just covered it. I did. Well, I was behind in the chat. I'm getting caught up, though. I am getting caught up. Sven Silverman has a question. All right, I'm going to ask your question. By the way, if I somehow skipped your question And it's probably not because I'm ignoring you. It's probably because I just didn't see it. So feel free to repost it if I missed it. Don't get too super spammy, otherwise we'll like have the sheriff take care of you or something. All right, Sven says, I haven't DM'd in 1.5 years. Never really good at being organized, as in my notes and remembering what's in one room versus another. Any tips on better organization? You really want to open up that can of worms? Do you really want to go there? I'm going to show you how I keep organized, and it's going to be a riot. Stand by. Let me get my screen set up. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is I use OneNote for all of my campaigns and keeping organized. So I need to get it set up. I wasn't prepared to share OneNote, so I just need to make sure that the screen dimensions and stuff like that are correct for the live stream. So here we go. Let's switch to our desktop, and I might need to zoom in a little bit so that people can actually see this. There, that should work. So this is a view of OneNote. This is where I keep everything organized. And I have my laptop. This is my iPad. My iPad goes with me to all of my games, and I can pull OneNote up on my iPad. It syncs to my computer. It syncs to my iPad so that I have all of my notes with me at all times. All of my like campaign notes. So, for instance, let me show you what I got going on here. These are notes for Manus Invictus right here. This is a gaming group that just finished up, and they're going to start doing Dragon Heist, which is why I have Dragon Heist notes here. I have notes about what happened in every game session, okay? What the time was, what time of day it was, what they were doing, what they left off on so they don't forget. I have the session start notes. I have session ending notes. Every single game session, this stuff is tracked so that I don't forget. And I run 4 different games, so if I don't do this, I will forget, I guarantee you. And so I keep notes, and it helps me keep on track. I have this for all of my games. I have some stuff, allies and properties. I keep track of all their allies they've made, all the properties. The Sword Coast Guard has a bunch of properties. They have allies and properties. They have a troll hole with a whole bunch. They have an entire army of giants and orcs that they are getting together. Look at all this crap, you guys. 8 hill giant servants, 11 hill giant youths, 159 orc servants, 116 orc warriors. They're rescuing all of these creatures and getting them to work for them on their side somehow. They're basically having a massive army assembling. Okay, but I have notes on all of this stuff. And during the game, as they're assembling this army, I'm like writing this down and taking notes while they're doing it so that it's all recorded right here. I have notes about the campaign world, or different little, like they have different things going on in their game. I actually shouldn't show too much of that stuff because some of them might watch this and then be like, aha, we know what's going to happen. The Wonder Panda campaign, this is the one I run at work. Same deal going on. My Youngling campaign. Waterdeep and the Sword Coast. So here is information about specific things about Waterdeep, which is where I run all of my adventures, I think. And different things about the town, Waterdeep groups, the War Wizards, Force Grey, the Red Sashes, El Torchel Academy, Helm's Hall, Lady Nellaby Tharmer. I mean, here I have a picture of her. Boom! I'm just showing you guys. This is how I keep organized. This is how I do it, so I don't forget anything, so that I have everything in my hands, and so that I'm just boom, I'm right there, and I don't have to remember a whole bunch of stuff. And then I have a bunch of house rules, any house rules that I've made up. It's all here in OneNote. Okay, so this is how I keep organized. I suspect that most people don't go this far. This is probably like off the deep end in organization. I do it because it helps me run better games, and it helps me keep 4 games organized. Okay, so this is what I got going on, and before a game starts, I can come back through here and review things and refresh my memory about what was going on and all that kind of stuff. And then what I want to show you now is the question in particular was, I can't remember what's in one room versus another room. Well, let me show you how I remember what's in one room versus another room. Stand by for a moment. I need to find the file. I wasn't planning on showing this, and so I need to find it real quick. So you're going to have to bear with me, but I'm going to give you an example of the type of thing that I do. The Velvet Fists. The Velvet Fists is a good example. So the first thing I'm going to show you for the Velvet Fists is the map that I created for them. So let's see if I can rotate this. How do I rotate this? View, rotate view, counterclockwise. So I made this map. This is my super fancy map that I made. And but it has, some basic stuff going on. I got labels and crap on it. You can see all my labels on my map. Now, here's the next part of what I do when I'm preparing. These are homebrew adventures. These are my homebrew adventures. The next thing that I do is I detail all of those rooms. And so I'm going to show you what I do for my adventure prep. Stand by. I need to get the right size window. Hold on. Give me the right size window. Bam. There we go. Here's the right size window. And let's get rid of that so you guys can see a little bit better. So this is 26 pages in a Word document of notes for this adventure that I ran for my group. I have NPC notes. I have random encounters made up. I have the inciting action, which is the hook. I have, look at this, you guys, the feast hall, read aloud text, encounters. And the way I do encounters for my groups is I build the encounters for a range of levels because I never kind of really know what level they're going to encounter, what level they're going to play the adventure at. Every single room is built out. I have read aloud text. Now, I don't always go this far. This is like, I'm literally writing an adventure here that I could publish, and this actually probably will be, I think this one right here that I'm showing you might be the next adventure that I publish over on Drive-Thru-RPG. But sometimes when I write these adventures, I'm intentionally putting all of this detail in here because I'm intending on publishing it one day. And so it's easiest for me to write that all out when I'm actually designing it for my players. I don't always do this. There are some times that I make like very, very, like this is crazy. Like this is absolutely nuts. An entire freaking adventure here is written for me. I just need to publish it. I need to make some maps, throw this in an InDesign document, and publish this bad boy. But this is the sort of thing that I often do to prepare for my adventures. I don't know. I don't think a lot of Dungeon Masters do this. I'm going to be straight up with you. I think this is very rare for someone to do this level of preparation, okay? So I'm not suggesting you do this by any means whatsoever. This is probably way overboard, okay? But this is just, I'm a writer. Remember that. I am a professional writer. That's what I do for a living, okay? That's my full-time job. And so doing this sort of thing is kind of second nature to me. It's not that big of a deal, so just bear that in mind. It does take me some time and stuff like that. So I'm not suggesting anybody else do this. But the question specifically was, how do you prepare and how do you keep track? And so I am just answering the question. That is all I'm doing, is answering the question that was posed to me. But I don't, let me see. I actually might be able to find an example of a adventure I prepared and didn't do a whole lot of preparation. Yeah, let me find one. I actually have one in mind for you. Let me find it real quick, and then I'll pull it up for you. Just to give you some examples. I am not one to toot my own horn, all right? I don't like show off to show off, all right? This is just an honest answer to a question that somebody asked. This is what I do to prepare, But let me find that thing. Sorry. This is one, it's one of my convention games, Marmalade Dog. So Into the Darkness, here we go. Into the Darkness. Is this the right one? Stand by. All right, now what I'm going to show you is, so you guys remember, I talked about the Into the Darkness right there that I published over on Drive-Thru-RPG. My first draft of that I ran at the convention was not built out very thoroughly at all. I improvised a lot of it as I went along. And so what I'm going to show you now is like a very low prep version of how I can do an adventure. So that's what I want to show you right now. This one right here is much lower prep. It's only 5 pages of prep. This is for a one-shot, something that's going to take place in 4 hours. I have a list of monsters. I have a basic storyline. I have And then I have, for each area, I just have some bulleted notes. That's all I have, a bulleted list. Okay, I have some notes about role-playing some of the characters. I have some combat notes. I have some notes about the loot they're going to find in the dungeon. I have another room here, some description around it. There's not a whole lot here. There's just some basic bare-bone notes. And this right here is more and more of how I prep games now. And I'm also beginning to move more and more toward modules, and so I'm not designing all of this stuff myself. Modules, I'm starting to like modules more and more, and so as I move toward making those modules, I'm not doing as much prep work and designing adventures and stuff like that as I did before. It just takes less time. I mean, you guys can see what I did to design it. Now, to be fair, that adventure I showed you that was 26 pages long, that probably took them about 4 to 6 game sessions to get through. And we play for 6 hours, 6 to 7 hours at a time. So it took them a long time to play through that adventure, right? So, I mean, it took me a while to make it, but it lasted us for like 2 months. 2 months? 3 months, about 3 months of gameplay, So, yeah, I think I've exhausted that point, or I forgot where it was going. So, but I've answered the question, I think, thoroughly enough. There we go. Question. So Bromos has a question. He says, "Are you excited for Acquisitions Incorporated book?" I know nothing about the book, buddy. Hey, would you do me a favor and drop a link to it down in the chat, and then I can check it out later or something? I don't know what it is. I'm familiar with Acquisitions Incorporated. That is, what's the dude's name? Perkins? Matt Perkins? That's his thing that he does, right? Am I right? Am I right, or am I getting all my Matts? How many Matts do we have? Don't we have 3 of them, right? We have Colville, Mercer. Is it Perkins? Matt Perkins? Does he have a different first name? Dude, I'm getting people confused. Somebody's got to set me straight. Cameron says, "Ignore me." What was your question, dude? Did you drop a question? Did I miss your question? If I did, drop it again, buddy. Wiggles says, "What are the most important parts to prepare for a campaign?" I'm writing one at the moment and already feel like I have over-prepped, but at the same time, I don't feel like I have enough to start. So, I need a villain. If it's a campaign, I need a villain. I need to know who my villain is. I need to know who my big bad villain is. I need to know what his motivations are, what his goals are. I need to know what he's trying to achieve. I need to know how what he's trying to achieve creates a disruption in the world, why it creates a conflict, and how the players are going to encounter that conflict. So if he has minions or something that are doing X bad thing, I need to know what he's doing and going about that's causing a problem in the world. And then that will cause ripples and stuff that can cause adventures. I think at a base level, I think that's the very first thing that I start with. Once I have that, then I kind of start to, and I'm imagining that this main villain will be something that they encounter around. My games usually go like all the way up to level 20 and crap like that because they do. But let's just imagine that. Let's talk about level 10. Let's say that your main villain is encountered at level 10. So they're going to fight that dude at level 10. But what are they going to do in the meantime? We need to think about different mini villains or different monsters and things that they can encounter along the way. And what those monsters are doing, what those mini villains are doing that are furthering the causes of that main villain, okay? And because those things are going to form the adventures that your PCs go on before they get to him. And so all of my campaign prep and adventure prep all begins in the Monster Manual, or Volo's Guide to Monsters, or Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, where I'm looking through monsters, I'm looking through villains, I'm finding things that I like, I'm imagining why they're working together. If there's a villain and he has all of these, I'm finding all these monsters I want to use, I'm trying to create the reason they're working together. How does this villain have these people working for him, and why? What are they getting out of it? Why are they supporting him? And then what are they doing in the world? What little problems or conflicts are they causing? And then how are the characters going to find out about it? And how are they going to be like tasked with solving it? What's the hook going to be? And so I start thinking about these things. And then I start building out like ideas for adventures along the way. I start imagining what level those adventures are going to take place at. Like, these are orcs, so this is probably a good level 2 or 3 adventure. Well, those are kobolds. That's a level 1 adventure. Now we're getting into hobgoblins and ogres. That might be level 4 or 5 or something like that. Githyanki? Those are pretty nasty. Let's reserve those for like level 8 or something. Okay, so I start as I get the idea of these villains and mini villains, I start to build out like more or less like at what level the characters, the players will encounter them at, and what the adventures will be. And then I just start to flesh things out from there. And so that's kind of how I design a campaign. It's base level. That's my answer off the cuff. I hope that's helpful. If you have follow-up questions, let me know. Happy to help. Am I out of coffee? I'm almost out of coffee. That's okay, because I have more over there. Bromo says, I'm excited for Salt Marsh. Marsh, are you? I have no idea what it's about. I actually have something on my calendar to go pre-order it at some point, because I'm going to pre-order it, get it, and I'll probably like read through it, maybe do a review or something like that. I have no idea what it is. All I saw was that Wizards was coming out with a new book, and I was like, well, I suppose I should get that, because that's kind of what I do around here. But I don't know what it is. Does that make me bad? Philip says, what language did you learn first? I learned English first. Then I learned Spanish. And then I learned a little bit of German and French. I don't speak those very well at all anymore. I learned those in college. Currently, my wife is from Central America, so she and I speak a lot of Spanish, obviously. I met her, I lived in Central America for a while, and so I met her down there. And so we speak quite a bit of Spanish, but that's the order of my languages. English, Spanish, then it was German, then it was French. My pronunciation in French was horrible. Actually, my French teachers would tell me that when I spoke French, I sounded like someone from like Central America or Spain speaking French. So I thought that was funny because of my I had like a Spanish accent or something when I was speaking French. Dung dung dung. Joel says he has a black belt in Taekwondo couch. Hey man, there are lots of people in this country that have a black belt in Taekwondo couch. Arthur has a question. He says, the other DM at the table is going to run a Ravenloft game. I'm going to run Ravenloft too with one of my groups, with my Sword Coast Guard group. We're going to do, what is that called? I should know it. What is the Ravenloft game called? The module. Curse of Strahd. Thank you. Anyway, that wasn't his question. He's going to run a Ravenloft game with characters snatched from any other settings and want the group to be horribly disparate. I think it's going to flop. What do you think? I mean, if they have... Who knows? If they have a reason to, adventure together and be together, and, I mean, presumably they've been snatched from different settings, and they are in Ravenloft, and they're stuck there, and they need to find a way to get home. I mean, that's kind of like the whole thing, right? You're in a different plane of existence, Ravenloft, and you gotta get out of there. So if that is the thing that kind of pulls them together and meshes them together, then I think that could work. I think the problem, if there is a problem with that, Arthur, if there is a reason that fails, it will not be because of your Dungeon Master's idea of doing that and having them together. If it fails, it will be because the players don't make it work. Because there is a give and take with dungeon mastering and being a player, right? The dungeon master can only go so far. The players need to meet him halfway. So your dungeon master has an idea that actually makes sense and could be lots of fun, but if the players don't like it and they decide this is dumb, and they can make it fail. The player can easily make that fail if they want to, or they could say, hey, let's just roll with this idea, let's run with it, and let's have fun with it, and let's decide to work together and be like a normal adventuring party, only we're from different settings. Then I think it could easily work. I think unless your DM does something really crazy to make it fail, I think the success or failure of that idea hinges more on the players than it probably does on the dungeon master, unless he does something crazy. All right. Wiggles says size doesn't matter so much in BJJ. You only have to watch Gracie. Yeah, that's totally true. For two people that are untrained, if you have a trained BJJ person and somebody who knows nothing about it, who's much bigger, yeah, the trained guy is going to win every day. But if they both have like equal skills in BJJ, then the guy with more strength and weight probably has an advantage. The reason that Gracie was cleaning up in the early days is that like he was good at BJJ, but nobody had seen that before, and they had no idea what he was doing. They had no idea how to counter it or anything, and so that's one of the main reasons he cleaned up in BJJ in the early days. But yeah, if you have somebody, you could say the same thing about boxing, right? If you have a trained boxer, put me in with like a featherweight or something, okay, that weighs like 120 pounds, but he's a trained boxer. I'm a big dude, but like I'm not a trained boxer. He's probably gonna kick my butt, okay? Now, if I were a trained boxer and I was really good, and I weigh like what I weigh, put me in with a featherweight, and guess what? That dude's going down, okay? More than likely. So, equally trained combatants, weight and strength usually makes a difference. But like if you're untrained, trained person versus untrained person, the trained person has a big advantage. So that's what I've found. My experience with that. And I'm not an expert by any means on those things. This is a dude who's like done a little bit of that crap and experimented a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But certainly by no means. I'm no Joe Rogan. All right, let's put it that way. You guys know who that is? You guys know who Joe Rogan is? He has like one of the biggest, most successful podcasts like out there. Very interesting. And he talks about a wide variety of really interesting topics. He doesn't just stick to like UFC and like mixed martial arts and crap like that. Philip says he has 3 lines in Krav Maga. Is that like a ranking system or something in that? Dun dun dun. Looking for a question. Oh, my chat just jumped all over the place. My chat jumped all over the place. Where'd it go? There we go. I found it. I need questions, people. Feed me questions. Feed me questions. Arthur says he's doing an Eberron Rogue Changeling. Ooh, cool. Are there Dark Sun Mogul Fighter? Oh, he's talking about that stuff. Okay. That sounds like fun, dude. Dark Sun. I want to play Dark Sun. Oh my gosh. There are so many things that I've heard about it that just sound so much fun. I need to play some Dark Sun. Question. Tips on horror or sci-fi games? So I've never run sci-fi games. I've never played a sci-fi game. The only tip I could give about a sci-fi game is know your crap. If it's Star Trek, know your crap, because knowing how the tech works is huge in Star Trek. Star Wars, not so much. There's a lot of fantasy. It's like a sci-fi fantasy thing where how things work isn't nearly as important. I don't really have any tips on that. On horror, I don't know. I've never really run a horror game. I've never played in a horror game. I'm about to do it for my first time with Curse of Strahd. So I don't think I have any tips on that can come to my mind. To be honest with you, after I've done it for a while, I might be able to get some for you. But that's all I got. So my answer is sorry, buddy. Sorry, Philip. Those two things lie outside of my area of expertise. Wiggles says he's no longer worried about being overprepared. Why? Did I just show you like the golden standard for overprepared? It's like, that dude's crazy. That dude crazy. Look at what he does. He does crazy preparation work. I need coffee. All right. My coffee pot is literally right there. This will take me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Getting coffee. Woo! Coffee is good. Oh yeah. Oh. Talking about sci-fi games, here's my Stormtrooper coffee cup. Oh yeah. I have a Stormtrooper. This is funny. My wife gave me. I should get a drink first. My wife gave me a Stormtrooper shirt. You guys have probably seen these. It's like a bunch of squares showing like the different emotions, like happy, sad, angry, upset, confused for a Stormtrooper. And every single picture shows how a Stormtrooper would look while he's going through all of those emotions. So it's very, very informative shirt, as you can imagine. All right, more questions. The ACD's dudes. What up, dude? Welcome to the stream. He says, the dudes say, I'm going to be running the Sunless Citadel for my players. Do you have any thoughts on the module? Yes. If you're talking about the Sunless Citadel from, what's it called? Tales from the Yawning Portal? Yeah, it's good. I have not run it. I read through it, and one of my buddies from work, Joe, did play it, and he said it was lots of fun. Sorry, the coffee's kicking in. And I have nothing negative to say about it. Now, there are some of the adventures or modules in Tales from the Yawning Portal that I do have some negative things to say about. But that is not one of them. So, yeah, I think it'll be fun, dude. Knock yourself out. Cameron says, what are your favorite mid-level monsters to challenge players? Mid-level monsters. Well, you know what? You know what, Cameron? Off the top of my head, Mind Flayers are cool. But let's take a look. Let's do a little survey here. Let's take a look. I'm going to pull up my phone's going crazy. I'm going to pull up the monster manual real quick here, and we're going to take a look at some monsters here. Stand by. Bam! Monster manual. Let's go to the contents. You're dumb. Where is this? Index of stat blocks? I want to go mid-level. Where is the one that ranks them by level? There was a place. See, you suck. It won't look at it. It's like, I can't process it. I don't know how this works. All right, stand by. I'm going to close that crap down. Close all of those tabs, and I'm going to go back to the same rule book, and I'm going to open it up in a different PDF viewer. I don't know why Adobe's PDF viewer crap always crashes and does stupid stuff. Foxit usually works a lot better. So, whatever. Let's go to Foxit. We're going to go to the index of the stat blocks. I'm just going to I'm like, Drow! Oh my gosh, Drow are so much fun. Yes, they're definitely one of my favorites. I definitely would go with Drow. I'm just kind of like cruising through here and seeing stuff that jumps out at me. Devils and demons are really, really fun. I would definitely go for those. Beholder is kind of mid-level. That's like a boss level, a boss for mid-level stuff. I like those a lot. What else? Golems. Golems are cool. Go with those. I'm like looking at the monster manual and calling out things I like. Hydras are fun. Do that crap. I said Mind Flayers. Githyanki are cool. What was it? Oh, I had it. It was this close. Slotty. Oh my gosh, I love Slotty. Those are cool. Definitely do Slotty. Yeah, there you go. There are some mid-level monsters for you, I think. Satisfy your curiosity. Mind Flayers can be really challenging. Like, let's take a look at a Mind Flayer is hardcore, dude. I love these bad boys. You know why a Mind Flayer is hardcore? So it's a CR7, so you can throw a couple of these at a party. And this Mind Blast, dude, an intelligence saving throw. Who has an intelligence saving throw? A rogue? A wizard? Everybody else is gonna suck at that, and they're gonna get stunned. And what I love about the Mind Flayer, when he attacks with his tentacles, okay, if he hits you, you're grappled, and if you fail your intelligence saving throw, you are grappled and you are stunned until the grapple ends, and you don't get any chance to break that grapple. You're just stunned and you can do nothing. And that Mind Flayer is going to eat your brains out unless one of your adventuring companions comes and helps you. But the chances are they might all be stunned by his Mind Blast. So Mind Flayers are fun and challenging. So yeah, Mind Flayers for the win, for sure. All right, let's move on. Next question. Arthur says, have you ever played any World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness games? No, I have not. I've never played those. Are those like computer games, or are those like tabletop role-playing games? There's a whole series of videos about creating adventures. I did a couple. I think I did a couple videos about creating adventures, and then stuff like that. I haven't done like a whole ton of them. I mean, okay, I'm not the only channel out there, obviously. I'm sure there are tons of other YouTubers who have done videos on creating adventures. So, my chat jumped ahead on me. I'm like way behind in the chat. I'm trying to catch up. Eric says he has a great series on it, but doesn't want a top link to someone else's channel. I don't mind, dude. If you want, if there is a playlist of adventure creation stuff that you think people will find helpful, it's okay for you to link to it. I appreciate asking though, because I don't want people to just start dropping links to a whole bunch of crap in the chat. But one time approved because you were cool enough to like ask. By the way, guys, just want to let you guys know that I have a Discord server. If you're interested in that sort of thing, there's a link to it down in the description. You can come join us over on Discord. It's really cool. There's like a community of dungeon masters growing over there. Some of us are very experienced, others are very new, and then we have people in between. But what I like about it's a great place for people to come and like toss ideas back and forth, ask questions, get advice and stuff like that. And so I see that happening, and I love it when I see experienced dungeon masters on my Discord like helping other people out with things that they got going on. It's awesome to see that happening. And I try to hang out there as well, as much as I can. Usually every day I pop in there and hang out with people, answer some questions if I see things and crap like that. So feel free to join us down in the... I'm like pointing downward because Discord is below you. You just got to sink down and you'll find Discord. It's in the description below you. So there you go. I don't know why I thought of that, but for some reason somebody said something that I thought about. I thought about that. Philip says, what type of DM are you and how do you prep your adventures? I have not a lot of prepared and then work with my players. Is that fine? Yeah, dude. Okay, here's the thing. So I don't believe there is a right way to prep your adventures. I just got done a little bit ago showing you guys all of the crazy stuff that I do to prep my adventures. That doesn't mean that I look at somebody who doesn't do that much prep and think that you're not putting in your work, son. You need to buckle down and get to work. I don't think that. I think that every dungeon master has his own style and he has his own way of doing it, right? And the only real judge of a dungeon master is his players. Are they having fun? Are they enjoying his game? And are they coming back for more? If your players come once and they leave and then you never see them again, then something's going on there maybe. It might not be them. It might be the game you're running, right? But if you're doing your thing and if it's low prep and your players love it and they're coming back for more, then who am I or anybody else to say that you're doing it wrong? I think that's absolutely silly. So like, you low prep, if that's working for you, then rock on. I think that the golden rule is to prepare in advance the things that you don't want to improvise at the table. That's the golden rule. I actually have in my video backlog, I'm planning on doing an entire video about this, but basically, for instance, I am really good at improvising things like description of a room, making little tiny details up, voices. I can throw out a weird voice or something on the fly and stick with it and roll with it. I do it all the time. Those types of things are really easy for me. Things that are not easy for me to improvise are encounters. Like, I'm not just talking about a random encounter. Anybody can go to Kobold Fight Club and toss in some numbers and come up with a random encounter. I'm talking about like a well thought out encounter or an entire adventure of encounters that is well thought out and put together. So developing encounters and thinking about them, because here's the thing, that I run a style of game that is when we have combats, they're very tactical in nature. I play in person and we use grid and minis, and they're very tactical games. And like, I really get into it. Like, and I'm pretty quick on my turns. I'm like boom, boom, boom. I'm running all my bad guys, so it's very quick. But I'm thinking very tactically about things. And my goal, not all of the combats. Some of the combats are easy, but there are also combats that are supposed to be challenging for my players. And so I'm pushing it, right, to make them feel that challenge, because a lot of my players like that stuff. So like, I plan that stuff in advance because I view that as a pretty important part of my games, and I don't want to improvise that. Maps. I am not good at improvising maps, like dungeon maps. And so I will either find something online that I can steal from, or I'll draw it out in advance because I don't want to improvise that. So know what you're good at improvising, know the things that you're not good at improvising, and prepare in advance the things that you know you personally need to prepare in advance. I think that's the golden rule. And as long as you're doing that and you're not arriving at the game totally unprepared and have no idea what you're doing, I think you're good to go. I wouldn't worry about it. I have a story about unpreparedness. One of my cats is back here crying. I don't know who it is. I can hear him. He's like... I arrived at a game, and I swear, I was a player. I swear the Dungeon Master hadn't prepared hardly anything. He was trying to run a module, and he was constantly flipping through the book and finding things and reading and stuff, and it's like, dude, prepare for your game, man. I don't know. It's possible, benefit of the doubt, it's possible we had gone off in a direction of the module that he didn't anticipate and couldn't prepare for. Totally possible. I don't expect any Dungeon Master to read and memorize and have prepared the entire module on the off chance that somebody goes in some weird direction. So it's possible we did that, but my impression was this dude didn't prepare for his game today, and that's not cool. So anyway, that's all I had. Looking for questions. Matt Perkins. Chris Perkins. There we go. You see, this is the problem, guys. I get all these names. It's Chris Perkins. I got it. Yeah. All right. Y'all are like, Luke says he knows what he's talking about. He's like pretending to be like a Dungeons and Dragons guy. He doesn't even know who Chris Perkins is. Who's he He's a pretender. Yeah. Everybody's just like, this guy sucks. Yeah. Anyway, Chris Perkins. Sorry, Chris. Sorry for forgetting your first name. Arthur has a question about 4th edition minions. How do you use 4th edition minions in 5e? Originally, it's 4 minions for 1 normal enemy. Do you use this proportion? Do you modify something? And what mechanics from other editions do you use? There's a few questions in there. So I do use minions. I do use the concept of minions from 4th edition. And all I do is... So for those who didn't play 4th edition, or for those that hate it with a passion, a burning passion, and refuse to know anything about it and have erased it from their memories for whatever reason. I've never played it before, but I know a little bit about it, and I have stolen some things that I thought were good ideas. And the idea of a minion, I think, is a great idea. Basically, a minion is a monster that has all of its stats are normal except it has 1 hit point. So that means that you hit it once, boop, and it dies and goes down. And I think that's a great idea. I have used minions in some of my boss fights. So you might have, let's say that you have a red dragon. Okay, big, huge boss. All of your characters are like level 15. The red dragon's minions might be fire elementals. So you would use that fire elemental, which is like a CR 15. You would use all of its normal stats, only that it has 1 hit point. So these fire elementals will be doing lots of damage to the players and doing weird things, setting them on fire and stuff like that. And the players, if they hit it once, it goes down and is dead. Okay, so I love that mechanic. I think it's really interesting. I think it's a cool way to make boss battles more interesting while not having to track hit points of a bunch of minions because 1 hit and it dies. I don't follow any proportions, any special rules or anything. I just throw them in there and I figure it out. There's a certain extent to which I try to calculate the difficulty of an encounter, and then there is an extent to which during the battle itself I'm gauging how hard it is. I have in mind how hard I want it to be, and then as the battle progresses, I adjust things to make it that hard. I don't adjust die rolls and crap like that. There are a multitude of ways to adjust how hard an encounter is that has nothing to do with like cheating on die rolls. Lots of different things that Dungeon Master has at his disposal. And so if I had envisioned that this red dragon fight was going to be epic and hard, right, and players go into it and it's turning out to be a cakewalk, then I can adjust a few things and I can change that. Okay. On the other hand, if I had envisioned that an encounter would be fairly easy, but for whatever reason, bad luck on the player's side, it turns out to be a TPK or like heading toward there, then I can adjust things. So that is an answer to a different question, I suppose. Some of you are like, Luke cheats. He's a DM who cheats. It's like, whatever. I am a what do you call that? I'm cultivating the game experience, right, for my players. That is how I term that. What mechanics from other editions do you use? I don't recall any. I don't know. I'm sure there are things that I have like stolen and used. Nothing else comes to mind offhand. I usually try to play the rules as is because I think that establishes a base of understanding for the players that they know that like if the player handbook says this, then that's the way it works. I do as few house rulings as possible. I do as few special things as possible because I want my players to feel like, you know, what the rule book says is how we can trust the game to work. That is the way I try to do it. So, all right. How to D&D? He says that I've become a hit on the live stream D&D YouTube community. Sweet. I'm a hit. Dun 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 dun. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for stopping in, man. And Arthur says that's better than an American speaking French. Dude, so check this out. Like, I'm about to speak bad about Americans. I am an American. Doesn't that mean that I can say bad things if I'm part of a group that I'm making fun of? Doesn't that make it okay? There was a whole Seinfeld episode about that. About becoming part of a group. There was a comedian who was becoming part of different like groups, like ethnic groups or something like that, so that he could make fun of those groups in his skits, in his sketches, or in his bits, you know. And so I think that since I'm an American, it's okay for me to make fun of Americans. Is that the way it works? I don't know. My point is that like when Americans speak Spanish with an American accent, it sounds so bad. There are some accents in Spanish that sound cool and stuff, you know, but like a gringo speaking Spanish poorly just has this like sound to it. On the other hand, like if you have like Latin Americans, when they speak English with an accent, it sounds cool. French, folk, when they speak English with an accent, usually it sounds pretty cool. So it's weird how that works. How different languages and stuff when your native language is one thing and you're speaking other things, it might sound cool, it might sound bad or whatever. So I'm gonna stop talking about that because I'm probably digging a hole. I'm probably offending. People are getting offended. They're like, Luke's talking about gringos speaking Spanish and sounding weird. It's like, oh, I am a gringo. I can't tease. I think the idea is good, but I don't know what the players are going to deal with it. All right, gotta go. Yeah, I love Joe Rogan. So I talked about Joe Rogan like 20 or 30 minutes ago, and I'm just getting to a comment about that. Show that. Dark Sun is amazing. Star Trek is very good. Sullivan says, what is your favorite module to play? Well, I haven't actually played a ton of modules. I'm just starting to play them. I've played Against the Giants. I've run Against the Giants. I've run the first part of Against the Giants with my Sword Coast Guard group. I thought that was cool. I would have loved for the writers of that module from the Tales of the Yawning Portal to actually do read aloud text. It's so lazy to me when somebody publishing a module doesn't do read aloud text. It's like I don't always use it, but having it there is super helpful. So that's just lazy to me that professional game designers do that. Some of the things in Tales from the Yawning Portal do have read aloud text, and other things don't. So I don't get what they were doing there. They're just like, it takes too long. Yeah, it takes effort, dude, but you're charging me $50 for the book, so why don't you give me some read aloud text? That's a rant. That's a different story. So far I have been liking Waterdeep Dungeons of the Mad Mage. We're almost all the way through the first level right now. I'm running it for my youngling group. I've enjoyed that a lot. I think that's really cool. I think there are things that could be improved on it that I have in mind for that. That might be a future video. And I've read through all of Dragon Heist, and I've prepped to run it for my one of my other groups, my Manus Invictus group, who will now be my Dragon Heist group. And I like that a lot. I think that's really cool. So yeah, there are some thoughts. Oh, I can tell you the module that was really annoying to me. Princes of the Apocalypse. Bad game design. Oh my. So the individual adventures in Princes of the Apocalypse, when taken separately, are pretty cool. I like them. But the biggest thing about that is absolutely insane that they would design it that way is that you have there are basically 4 different dungeons, we'll say, and each of the dungeons has 3 levels to it. Okay, and level 1 is on the surface, and then you can go down a level to the next level, and then you can go down a level to the next level. This level on the surface is designed for 5th level characters. If you go down a level, it's now designed for 9th level characters. And if you go down another level, it's now designed for 14th level characters. No, 13th level characters. You see what I'm saying? And in the game, the way they've written it, there's nothing to prevent you from just going from a 5th level adventure down to a 9th level adventure. It's what the heck, dude? So obviously a dungeon master running the module needs to do something there. Otherwise, he's going to have his players going into an area that they are horribly unprepared for. And almost assuredly, a 5th level party going into a 9th level dungeon, they're going to die. I don't see any way that they're not. Okay? And so that just seems like really bad game design. So the dungeon master has to recognize that and then, put something there to protect his players or something, The other thing, too, I noticed with Prince of the Apocalypse is that if you read about it online, people are like, oh, it's sandboxy. You can go anywhere. You can do anything. I love it. There's nothing constraining you. You can go to any one of the keeps, the dungeons, and stuff like that. I was running it that way, and my players hated it. I don't know if that's because I was doing... I could have been implementing it poorly. Totally a possibility that I wasn't doing it well. but I know that my players at one point, literally at the game table, they were like, Luke, just tell us where to go next. We don't want to stumble into an area that's above what we're able to handle. Just tell us what the module designed us to do next. They literally just wanted to know where to go so that they would play at the right level, So I don't know. It might have been my players that was their preference. It could have been that I was implementing it wrong. But there were some problems with running that module. Whether that was my improper implementation of it or whether it was some fundamental flaws in the module itself, I don't know. But I did not have a positive experience with that module for those reasons there. But I think the individual adventures in them, the individual dungeons and stuff themselves were pretty cool. But yeah, there you go. So he asked me one question and I answered like the opposite of his question. What's your favorite event module? Well, let me tell you about the one that I hate the most. Let's see. Arthur says he's on beer, but you made want some coffee. Dude, if I could drink beer on a live stream, I'm like, demonetized. You can't drink beer on a live stream, fool. That's why it's called. This is coffee. It's coffee, folks. All right, Mike P's got a question. Mike P has got a question. Keep the questions coming, folks. The questions drive the stream. It's almost 10 o'clock, but usually what I do on these things is if there are still questions, I answer questions because that's what I do. I'm here to help you because I'm such a kind-hearted individual. I don't know if that's true or not. I might have just made that up. Anyway, his question is, one of the players in my group approached me recently and told me he saw one of my other players change his roles now and then or just saying the wrong number out loud. How do I deal with it? You murder him! Just kidding. Don't do that, man. This is rough. Here's the thing. I had this happen I had this happen as a teacher. When I used to be a teacher, like I would have students. So I'm the teacher. My thumb is me as the teacher. And this student would come to me and say that this student here was cheating. This student saw him cheating. I never observed this student cheating. This student told me this student was cheating. What am I as a teacher going to do? I mean, if I go to the student and say, another student was saying that you were cheating, the student's going to be like, dude, I wasn't cheating, he's lying. Who was it? Let me go talk to him and figure out what it is, So, am I going to take the first student's word at it? How do I know that this student here isn't upset with this student for some reason and is looking at a way to get this student in trouble? You know what I'm saying? So, my point here is that I'm not saying that the player who is tattle-talling or whatever, it's not, whatever. I'm not saying that player is necessarily lying about it. It could very well be the case. And you know your player. It might be someone that you trust and know that's not going to lie to you. And the other player, you kind of believe that he would cheat. It still puts you in a quandary, right? Because there is a possibility for disruption to the gaming group, right? I don't know that I have a good answer for this. I'm just kind of like talking this through, putting things on the table, because as a dungeon master, like one of the things that I'm always working to do is trying to make sure that like my players aren't at each other's throats, that there is harmony at the game table, because when there is not harmony at the game table and people are getting upset at each other, then you have people leaving the group and groups disbanding and falling apart and possibly friendships ending and stuff like that. And so as a dungeon master, I try to promote harmony, right? And so when I look at a situation like this, I'm like, well, if I go to the player that was supposedly cheating and tell him that I know you were cheating because another player told me you were cheating because he saw you, I am then possibly introducing disharmony. This player could be like, well, who was it? Who was saying that I was cheating? You know what I mean? So that's a hard situation. I don't know that there is a correct answer. I think that for me, I have had players who roll super, super high all the time. Are they cheating? I don't know. They could be really lucky. Okay? I don't view that as something worth, losing a player over or introducing problems into the group. I would almost just not deal with that. If I did not have proof, if I had not seen him change a die roll, right? If I had not seen it happen with my own eyes, then I would be very hesitant to step into that situation, right? I would want to have witnessed it myself, okay? And even if I did, I might have to decide, is this worth making a big deal over? You got to choose your battles. Choose your battles. That player's cheating for a reason. Maybe he feels like he needs to cheat. Maybe I don't know. I don't think there's a right answer. I think there's only the answer that's right for you and your group and for your players. Now, it's possible that this player is otherwise a great player, contributes positively to the group, is a great guy to be around, everybody has fun, and there are no problems with him, but he might be cheating. You might just overlook it because we're all having fun, we're enjoying ourselves. Is it that big of a deal? It might not be. Now, if that player is causing problems in lots of other things and is your problem player, and now he's also cheating, then that might be something to look at. So I think the totality of the circumstances is probably going to influence what I personally would do. So I don't have an answer for you, except that I'm just talking it out with you. And I think that's probably all I got to say about that. Now, I know that I did a video a while ago about this very thing, a player cheating on die rolls. And basically my response was, meh, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's whatever. And I had some people who were like, cheaters die, man. Cheaters die. And they were getting upset because, you got to deal with cheaters. If that's the way that you feel, then deal with the cheaters, But I think it's a personal thing. It's something that each dungeon master has to decide what the impact to his game is and if it's worth dealing with or not. And it might not be. That's for you to decide. Those are my thoughts on that topic. I know that there are probably people that disagree with that, and that's fine. I think everybody is entitled to some of these things that we talk about, some of these problems that dungeon masters go through, there's not always a right answer. There's not one way to do things for some of these things, and different people will approach it different ways. So that's cool. Bromo says, what is your favorite part of world building versus adventure building? I do not world build. I use Forgotten Realms. I don't world build because it takes a lot of time, and it is way easier for me to take what somebody else has already built and use it. And world building I've done a lot of world building. I used to write novels and crap like that. None of them published, so don't be like, Luke, send us a link to your books. None of them are published, but I would build worlds that my manuscripts, my novels were set in. And so I did a lot of world building for my books that I was writing, which never got published because whatever, it is what it is. But I've never actually built a world for Dungeons & Dragons. I've always just used Forgotten Realms because it's already there. I enjoy it. I'm familiar with it. I don't have to do any work for it. And in all honesty, my games don't focus on the world. My games focus on the adventure, right? What happens in the adventure? And what are the players doing? And what's the conflict? And who's the villain? And what's the enemy? Who are the monsters that you're going against? And all of these things that are happening. The world is the backdrop that all of that happens in. But that's kind of it's there, it's present, everybody kind of knows it's there, but that's not the focus, not in my games at least. And so I spend my time preparing and building the things that are the focus of my games, and I know that we're going to be doing that stuff, right? World building is always just, it's there, we're in Waterdeep, right? But, dude, it is so much easier for me to look up and find information about a city like Waterdeep that's already out there and published than it is for me to try to create a massive metropolitan city on my own. That said, the advantage of world building your own stuff is that you did it, so presumably you're more familiar with it and you know things, right? But it takes a lot of effort, depending on how detailed you get. So that's my thoughts on world building. My favorite part of adventure building, monsters. finding cool monsters that I'm going to use in my games. Like, I think I did a video once about building an adventure, and my first step for any adventure building is looking through the monster manual, Volo's Guide to Monsters, Morning Camps from Foes, and finding a sweet monster that I'm like, oh, we need to do a battle against that monster, because that guy is badass. I just swore on stream. Oh! Demonetized. So, like, I love picking out cool monsters that are going to be like, that's what I like about adventure building. Cool monsters and thinking about the encounters and thinking about combats and stuff like that. You know, that's what I like a lot about adventure building. I also like developing unique personalities. Like, I did this Granny Titchwillow personality for one of my groups that I liked a lot. She's like this old granny lady, and she was like, yes, come in, sit down, let's just have something to eat. Oh, and I had this like voice and junk, and I had her mannerisms and stuff, you know. So like, I like developing these personalities and stuff like that too, you know, for my games. So I enjoy that as well. Let's see. Looking for questions, and I'm getting tired. I'm drinking more coffee, but I'm getting tired. I see lots of questions though. Wiggles says he has a cool concept for a drow character, but I haven't had a chance to use it. I was playing a drow character recently. One of my players, Matt, was running a game for us. He was giving me a break as a DM, and I was having a lot of fun. But I was playing a drow rogue. I love rogues. Oh, I love rogues. Rogues are so much fun to play. Like, you're good in combat, you do damage in combat, you're useful in combat, and you have all of these other skills that you can use when you're not in combat. Role-playing skills, social interaction skills, exploration skills, trap finding, opening doors and crap like that. I love rogues. My favorite class, hands down, rogue. Rogue all the way. That wasn't a question. Arthur says he's doing a 3.5 edition game and a player wants to do a barbarian based on 4E. Should I adapt it all the way? 4E Barb is a nature hero who incorporates aspects of nature's violence as its rage. I mean, dude, that's up to you. I can't give you an answer to that. There's nothing wrong with adapting it into your game and giving him the chance to play something that he wants to play. I usually try, when my players want to do something, I usually see if there's a way for me to make it happen. Players love trying new concepts or doing new character builds, something that they think is fun and interesting. As much as possible, I try not to be the DM that like squashes their idea for a cool character that they want to play. As much as possible, I want to say yes to their characters. I always take into account game balance, right? Because there are some things that are just like, you're not playing an adult red dragon. That's not going to happen. So if at all possible, my suggestion would be to consider seeing if there's a way for you to make it work. Now, I wouldn't necessarily start with the 4th edition Barbarian and then convert it to 5th edition. I would suggest trying to find a class in 5th edition that's close to 4th edition Barbarian, and then tweaking the 5th edition class a little bit to emulate some of the things that the 4E Barbarian can do. I think that is going to ultimately be easier for you to convert than if you just start with the 4th edition version and from scratch make a new class. Start with an existing class that's similar and then tweak it until you get something close to there. So if you go that route, that'd be my suggestion. Probably easier to do it that way. All right, looking for another question. A hag coven is good for mid-level. Yeah, hag covens are awesome. My Sword Coast card group went through a whole bunch of hags. That was fun. Philip says, are your players hated by the Commonwealth? Like Matthew Colville game, because I'm doing it in my next campaign and would like some tips about that. What does that mean? I'm not familiar with his game. I've watched little bits of his stream, but I'm not familiar. Can you clarify? Are you saying that the players are hated by like most of the other people in the game world and they're kind of like fugitives or something? If you can clarify your question, I can probably give you a better answer. Like coughing. like coughing around here. Wiggles says, do you play any RPG video games, and if so, what is your favorite? And have you used any as inspiration for a campaign or adventure? Right now I'm playing Skyrim on the PC. I've played Morrowind. I played Morrowind a lot. I've played Oblivion. I've played Skyrim. I played the Elder Scrolls things. I like those. Those are pretty cool. Those are a lot of fun. What other PC games have I played? I've played Fable. I'm looking over here where I got games. Icewind Dale stuff. Baldur's Gate stuff. I played some Star Wars. Medieval Total War. These are some older ones. I played like Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. Other video games. I played some other video games and stuff like that. Yeah. Right now I'm enjoying Skyrim. When I can play. I don't have a whole lot of time, but I've been trying to play it a little bit to get that out of my system. Do I use it as inspiration for a campaigner? Yes. So I've also played... I used to play Dungeons & Dragons online a lot, called DDO. I used to play that all the time for years, and I have used some of their adventures, like the dungeons you go into and stuff in that game, as inspiration for my own game. Because there's a lot of really cool, well-designed dungeons in there, and I'm like, this is pretty cool, I like this. And so I would steal some stuff from that. I think stealing is great. My maps, like, I never, like, almost never come up with a concept for a map myself. Nowadays, I used to do it a lot, and I don't think they were very good. But what I do now is I will go to Google and I will just search for D&D maps of like the type of thing that I'm looking to run an adventure in, and then I will either take the map and use it as is, or I will tweak it a little bit and make it my own. Usually I tweak it a little bit and make it my own. So I steal maps all the time when I'm making my adventures because I'm not imaginative enough, and some of these people that make these maps are crazy. There is this dude, Random Encounters, makes maps, and they're really good. Let me find that for you guys. I'm going to show you his crap real quick. He makes these things, and they're really good. Random Encounters. I'm trying to find this for you. Stand by. That's not the right one. Oh, here we go. I got it. I found it. I'm going to show you this guy. This dude is pretty cool. Now, this is his Patreon page. He also is on Instagram, just called Random Encounters. I don't have a link to his stuff in the description or anything, but he's just called Random_Encounters. This dude makes these maps, and these are all free. Like, the low-res maps are all free, and oh, look at that. My name's here. I did some collaborations with him, so I know him. He's a cool dude. But this stuff of his is all free, and so I have used some of his maps as inspiration. Like, I am not going to think up this stuff on my own. Look at this. He's got, like, 3D crap and cool water and stuff. This is a big map. I am not that imaginative, so I'm going to steal this crap. And so, there we go. Oh, I saw this one the other day. That's pretty cool. He makes a new map, like, almost every day, you guys. So, like, follow this dude on Instagram or something like that. Because he makes cool stuff. So there you go. While we're on the topic of maps. All right, next question. I skipped way down to the bottom and I lost where I was. Wiggles says the Discord group is great. I've had so much help on there. Awesome, Wiggles. I am very happy that has been working well for you, dude. I'm happy to help. And I'm not the only one helping. I mean, legitimately, like, the other people on the Discord answer far more questions and help people far more than I do. And that's what I love about it. It's like the community coming together and helping each other to run better games. And I love that. That's really cool. Arthur says, I'm getting to his 5th liter of beer. Hope to entertain me to the end of the night. The 5th liter? Dude, liter? Like, I know what 2 liters is. You're on the 5th one? I don't. All right, dude, you're like a champion. He's like an 18th level. Oh, look at this. Matthew Colwell. Nice. We got more people to confuse me, make me forget names around here. I love that crap. He has a question. I will answer your question, possibly. So he says, while DMing, how do you recommend sharing progressive maps with Fog of War using a monitor? Any free software suggestions? So he says free software. I'm pretty sure that, so I play all of my games at the table. I don't play any of my games online. So I don't have any specific experience with online gameplay in Fog of War. However, I'm pretty sure that Roll20 has a Fog of War feature. I don't know if it's the free version, because I know there's a free Roll20 and then there's a paid version with more features. I don't know which one it is. Maybe somebody can clarify down in the comments. I do know, too, Fantasy Grounds, I'm pretty sure has a Fog of War. I will show you real quick. Let me pop you over to... So, I mean, this is the map building software that I've been recommending to people recently, called Dungeon Fog. It's pretty cool. They do sponsor me. I do have like an arrangement with them, so full disclosure. I don't know if they have Fog of War yet. I think... Actually, hold on a second. Wait. Hold on a second. I think they do, because I'm looking at it right now, and it says... Generate your GM notes automatically and export or print high-res images and notes, or send Fog of War version for your players to your TV. There you go. So I would recommend this. And the reason I'm recommending it's free, there is a free version of it available. Now, you don't get all of the features. There's a link down in the description, by the way, to it. And if you use the promo code, the DM Lair, you get 10% off a yearly prescription. There's my plug. I'm gonna show you a little bit of this, dude. Where are my maps? I'm gonna show you the maps that I created recently for my adventure Into the Darkness that I recently published. I want to show you these maps. Where are my maps? Here we go. So this is one map that I created in there. Little show and tell. Most of the screen, it's hard for you to see that. I'll zoom out a little bit. So this is one map that I created. This is very simple. This is not complex. This did not take me very long. Let me show you a different one. I'm going to show you one that was a little bit more complex. Here we go. What I love about this is that this is really easy to use. Super, super easy to use this software. And I was able to make these maps pretty darn fast. And you guys can see there's a lot of detail, barrels and tables, and there are forges, there are anvils and crap like that. I have rubble that I put over here. I got doors, I got a grid, I got all this kind of stuff. There were some beds up here. So there's some legitimately cool stuff you can do with these maps. Now, I have not played around with the Fog of War part of it, so don't ask me about that because I don't know about it. But I would go check that out. It's basically just dungeonfog.com/the DM Lair. Link down in the description for that junk. It's not junk. It's not junk. That's the way I talk. I talk junkily. So I call things junk and I call things crap when they're actually not. I would check that out, dude. Because their Fog of War might be pretty cool. There you go. That's my answer to that. Also check out Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. I know those things are... I think Roll20 might have a free version, then you upgrade. Fantasy Grounds, I think, is all paid, but I know there's a free version for Dungeon Fog. Doesn't have all the features, but there is a free version for you to test it out before you commit to anything, which is always good. Next question. Wiggles says, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So there is a... There's a saying that I heard recently. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the highest level of preparation, to your highest level of preparation. So, there you go. Arthur says, I'm a drinker. Sorry, not sorry. All right, dude. No, this is a judgment-free zone. Don't forget Matt Crawford. There's a Matt Crawford out there? Oh my gosh. Matt Merles? You guys are killing me. Matt Perkins is a fusion. Matt Mercer and Chris Perkins. I think there's a YouTube channel that a dude named Matt Perkins does. I think that's why I was thinking of that. I swear that's why I was thinking of that. Too many names going around. At least my name is unique. Luke Hart. Is there anybody else out there named Luke? I mean, there are, but like on YouTube and the last name Hart? I mean, I know Hart's like a common last name, but you know, whatever. No confusing that. And I probably act. I act really weird and different probably too. Philip has a question. Do you play with a screen or not, and why? So I do play with a screen, but my Dungeon Master screen is off to the right, and it basically just hides my notes. And it hides my beer bottle. I usually put my beer back there. I don't know why. It hides my notes, basically, but my dice get rolled in the open. I have a little dice tray that one of my players gave me, and I roll my dice out in the open. I don't try to hide my dice rolls. I mean, it's probably not easy to see what they are, but I don't try to hide them. In fact, there are times that when there is a critical dice roll that I have to make that is like really clutch, I literally will go out in the middle of the map and roll it so it's very easy for everybody to see it. So the whole idea of a screen, not screen, usually hinges around dice rolls and whether you hide them or not, and whether you fudge them or not. In combat, I can't remember the last time I fudged a die roll in combat. Like, usually in combat, I play everything straight. As far as dice rolls go, because there is a multitude of ways that I can influence a combat. What was I going to say? That I can influence a combat without dice rolls. I'm seeing now a super chat from Matthew Colwell. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Tossing me a couple bucks to, you know, further my coffee drinking. If it were Arthur, he'd be like going out to the corner store and getting some more something or other. But thanks, man. Appreciate that. And what was I saying? I was in the middle of something, and then I got distracted by like dollar signs. The dice rolls and crap like that. So yeah. I roll in the open if that's the question. There are some dice rolls that I roll behind the screen, and there's a reason why. Death saving throws. I have begun rolling the death saving throws for my players. The reason is that and behind the screen so they don't know what it is, and that is intentionally to create drama, tension, and to avoid a little metagaming. Not that my players tend to do that, but here's the reasoning. If somebody's at 0 hit points, and they make a death saving throw, and they make the death saving throw, they have one success, everybody at the table knows they succeeded. Everybody at the table is less worried about that person dying, and they may or may not go help him. Round goes by. They make another death saving throw. Let's say they fail this one. Everybody at the table is like, meh. They've made one, they've failed one. We can probably keep fighting the enemy. We don't really need to go over there to help him, right? And the player who's down is kind of like, I'm doing okay. I'm not too worried about it, right? And then let's say he makes another one. Let's say he makes that death saving throw. So he has 2 successes and 1 failure. Everybody's like, well, he's about to stabilize. Let's just let him stabilize or something like that. But you see what I'm saying? When everybody knows what the death saving throw is, whether it's success or failure, right, that does something to the game, right? Now, behind the screen, when I'm rolling the death saving throws, nobody knows what they are. They have no idea. So that person's at 0 hit points, I roll, and I always screw with my players. I'll give them a smile or a chuckle or a look, or they don't know what I'm doing. Like, they have no way to read me. I'm always messing with their minds, getting in their heads. And I could have failed, he could have succeeded. They don't know. And so there is more urgency in getting to that player and making sure they stabilize him or get him back up. And it is intentional to create drama and tension and a feeling of urgency when somebody goes down to 0. But I don't fudge them. I never fudge them. I roll them straight. I'm just hiding them from them because I want to create that effect. I've had several times where I rolled a 20 on a death saving throw, and the person popped up to 1, and that's kind of just, I'm playing it straight. He popped up to 1. There he is. That's proof that I'm not cheating. Unless I cheated on that. But anyway, there you go. I answered that question. Mike P. Mike P has another question. He says, what is this junk? Get out of here. Get out of here. I am really struggling with finding good enemies for 4th level. What enemies could I use without resorting to enemy spam or nerfing harder enemies? All right. Well, first of all, I'm going to give you a quick suggestion. I mean, this could be a very long answer with lots of suggestions, but this is the way I would go about doing it. The first thing, let's pop over to my desktop, and let's pull up my encounter calculator, because the first thing to this question is, what level of enemy are we looking for that's going to help him? So, 4th level. All right, so let's assume you have 4 characters and they're level 4. And so we calculate this. And now let's use challenge rating. Let's say that for 4 characters, you want to have in an encounter roughly 4 monsters for action economy's sake, for the most part. And so if they were CR2, that is deadly. Really? That's deadly. Is that wrong? 450 XP, I think, is a CR2. Yeah, that's deadly. So if they're 4th level, then you're probably looking at CR2 monsters. You want to have about 4 CR2 monsters, roughly. I'm gonna go back to challenge rating. So if you go into like CR1 monsters, then it's still gonna be hard. 4 CR1s is still hard for 4th level. So yeah, you're probably looking at the range of using CR1s and CR2s for your 4th level adventurers. And so at that point, what I would do is I would just go into the monster manual. And is it the monster manual? There is a place that hold on a second. We could probably look at this. 5e monsters by CR. There's probably a place we can just get these by CR. There we go. Monsters by CR. I would go in here and I'd go into level 1s and level 2s, and I would just start looking through here and seeing which ones strike my fancy, and then creating encounters based on these. I mean, I think that's the way to do it. That's how I would do it. You could pull a 3. You could go to CR3. Have maybe some CR3s with some CR2s. And here's the other thing. The other thing that I would recommend to you when you're finding monsters for your players, mix monster types. Okay? Don't just have all of one monster type. Let's say orcs. Don't just have all orcs. That doesn't make for the most fun or enjoyable encounter all the time. If you have a couple of orcs and then an orc shaman, right, a different monster type, that's going to be a more interesting encounter. If you have a bunch of hobgoblin soldiers and then a hobgoblin devastator, which is like a sorcerer or wizard type hobgoblin who's like blasting them from the back with fireballs and stuff like that, that makes a more interesting encounter. So also mix your monster types. So I didn't give you like a specific monster to say use this monster, but I gave you the way to go about finding appropriate monsters. And I think ultimately that is more useful than me giving you a specific suggestion, if that makes sense. So I hope that's helpful. I'm way behind in the chat. Am I not? People are talking about stuff that I talked about like a half hour ago. Sure, Luke, it's totally coffee. Cameron says, have you ever watched Journey Quest? Nope, I have not. I should check it out. Okay, I'll check it out. Question. Why do you get cheaper D&D book than in Denmark? $74 for a D&D book in Denmark. $74 for a D&D book in Denmark? Well, my guess is like it's imported. It's printed in the US and they have to ship to Denmark. And my guess is that Denmark has import taxes and stuff. And also, I mean, it's just a fact in Europe, guys. They have high taxes over there. Like, they have like free medical care and all of these social services and stuff because they have higher taxes. That means that you have higher income taxes. You have higher gas taxes. Like, dude, you guys, go to like Europe, Germany and stuff like that. What they charge for gas. It's crazy. It's like $6 a gallon or something nuts. okay, because of taxes and stuff. So I would imagine that like the reason a D&D book in Europe, Denmark, or whatever is more expensive is because of taxes. That's my guess. And because it's being imported or something like that. That is my guess. So let's see. How do you break question? Okay. Evie, what's going on? Good to see you in the stream. Evie says, "How do you?" And we're about done, guys. It's 10:30. I'm petering out, so we're getting very close to ending the stream. But I want to just see if I can get some more questions here. I don't want to leave people hanging. How do you break a group's codependence of never split the party? Do you want to break that? I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing for the group to do, is never split the party, because splitting the party could be bad. Like, you know, they might die if encounters are too hard and they're separated. If your group wants to stay together all the time, that actually helps you as a dungeon master, because you don't have to run different players doing different things simultaneously at the table. It makes your job kind of easier. So if I had a group that always wanted to stay together and never split up, I think that I would not try to break that habit. I think that I would be perfectly fine with them doing that. Now, that said, if for whatever reason you want to break that habit, the way I would do it is introduce quests or puzzles or adventures or something where the only solution is to split the party. For instance, there are 2 hallways and there's some sort of time constraint, and they have to go both directions at the same time to accomplish some objective on either side, and the only way to do that is to split up. And then you create encounters in those 2 hallways that are appropriate to a split party. Because if you have an encounter down there that's super hard for like 2 people when they split up, and then it slaughters them, you're going to reinforce the idea of never splitting up. So if you want to break that habit, if you want to get them into a different way of thinking and playing the game, then you need to create encounters, create adventures, create situations where they need to split up in order to accomplish their objective. The other thing I would think of, too, is I would just speak to my players and say, hey, guys, I know you guys never want to split up. Can you explain why you never want to split up? Well, you know, Evie, the reason we never want to split up is because we're afraid of running into an encounter that's too powerful for us. And you might come back and say, well, you know what? If you guys do split up, then I will customize the encounters to make sure that they are of the appropriate level for the split up party, if that's something you do. So there's a reason they want to stick together. I would suggest talking with them and sussing out the reason they want to stick together. And then explaining to them that, well, you know what? The type of game that I run, it's okay to split up from time to time. Sometimes I anticipate it. Sometimes I expect it. So I wouldn't necessarily feel what you need to make clear to them is that you're not going to give them a DM screw job if they split up. Because most groups, when they want to stick together, it's for safety. It's to make sure they don't run into something too powerful while they're split up and get slaughtered. And so if you want them to split up, then you need to convince them that I, as the DM, have your best interest in mind, and if you split up, it's going to be okay, right? Now, that's how I would approach it, right? Assuming that that's all true, right? Now, in my games, I run group games that are I design encounters that are meant to have the entire party together. And so if in my games a group splits up and one single person runs into an encounter that was designed for the whole party, there's trouble brewing, and that person is going to be in trouble. Because that's the game I run. That's the type of game I run. That's not the only way to do it, right? And if you do it a different way where splitting up isn't penalized, so to speak, then make that clear to your players so that they won't be as afraid of splitting up. So those are my thoughts on that. Arthur says DDO is amazing. Dude, anything is amazing when you have 5 liters of beer in you. But I agree. I love DDO. I love it a ton. It's cool. Question from Vincent. What up, Vincent? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. What are your thoughts on side initiative? Have you tried it? I have found it as a good way to speed up combat, but I would like to hear your thoughts. I don't know what side initiative is. let's do a Google search. What is side initiative? Oh, I know what you're saying. Okay, never mind. I know what it is. So side initiative is the players roll one initiative, and then the monsters roll another initiative. And then basically one of an entire side goes, and then one of the other. So all the players take their, if they won initiative, their entire side goes. And I think they can do it in any order they want to. And then once they're done, the monsters will all take their initiative, and then their entire side goes. You could do that. I think the danger there is that it shifts the balance of the encounter way in favor of the side that wins initiative. So, if the players win initiative and they all get to go in any order they want to, then or just maybe you do it by their dexterity mods. It doesn't matter. But if the players win initiative, then they basically are going to probably take out a bunch of those monsters who now have an extreme disadvantage. And then when those monsters go, it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. Now, on the other hand, if the monsters go first, they have an extreme advantage, right? They're going to do some damage to those players before they can respond. Whereas if you have the players all roll initiative, and then you have maybe 2 or 3 different monster types, and they roll initiative, and each monster type is in a different order. So you have like a couple players go, then a monster type, a player goes, and their monster type, and then the rest of the players go. That makes it less likely for things to swing far in one side's advantage. That said, the typical way of rolling initiative once for a combat only affects the very first round. After that, it's mostly even Steven. The way you could compensate for this, I mean, if your players usually will win initiative. Most of my players will take the alert feat, which gives them a bonus to initiative, and there's always at least one player that has a super high dexterity. I don't know how you would roll initiative for the player side, though. I'm not sure how that works, but the danger, I think, would be to overcompensate for the monsters and maybe make there more monsters in case the players win first to make it more balanced. But then, of course, if the monsters go first, then it's way overbalanced. So I've never done it that way. I think that in order for me to, I'm just kind of like reasoning through things, having no experience doing it that way. I would want to do it that way to actually get a feel for it before I give you an actual real opinion, besides my half reasoned out thoughts. It could work. I can also see the potential for problems as well. But I don't know because I've never done it before. So there's my answer. Sven left because he has to work tomorrow. All right, dude. See you, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Philip is clarifying a question about Matt Colville's game. It's because adventurers in his game are seen as they bring trouble and as lower-level citizens. In my games, adventurers are heroes, and I call them heroes. They are the ones that rescue people. They're the ones that solve the problems. They're the ones that defeat the bad guys. They're the ones that destroy the monsters that are trying to do horrible things in the world. So in my games, the adventurers are heroes, and people view them as heroes, and they treat them as heroes. So I run like a different style of game. I think there are things that are appealing about the way Colville does that, and I think that's a perfectly legitimate and fine way to do it. And I can see how that could be lots of fun and create like a different game dynamic. I don't know what your original question was, but I've never done it that way. I don't think there's anything wrong that way, and I can see how doing it that way could be interesting and cool and bring a different thing to the game that could be refreshing. So those are my thoughts on that. I gotta get out of here. I'm trying to get these questions answered. I gotta talk less and answer faster. Question: my players are soon going to end of Storm King's Thunder. They're facing Limerith, the legendary ancient blue dragon. Would it be bad DMing to kill half the PCs, given that she's not just another NPC? I'm not sure I totally understand your question, Pedro, but I will say this. If that's the end boss of the module, and it's the culmination of the entire module, and they're going to fight that blue dragon, if in that fight the blue dragon kills all of the PCs and they get slaughtered, that could be an epic ending to the game. Okay? On the other hand, if half of them die in that fight and the other half defeat the blue dragon, that's legitimate as well. If they all live, I think that's legitimate. I don't think that there's a wrong way to do that. I think it's fine. If I'm understanding your question properly, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. But you're almost wording it as though like you're intentionally killing them or something. I mean, I would set that encounter up and then just play it with fidelity. You know, play that blue dragon with fidelity. Like a blue dragon, an ancient any type of dragon is a force to be reckoned with, right? Have it up in the air, breathing its breath weapon from like 120 feet up in the air. Have it swoop down and grab the wizard and then fly off with the wizard a few miles so that it could just kill the wizard by itself. And then fly back, look around a little bit, swoop down, grab somebody else, grapple it, fly it off somewhere else and rip it apart. Or go drop down, grab the barbarian, go drop the barbarian off in a swamp a mile away and then fly back to deal with everybody else. Or stay up way in the air and strafe them with your lightning breath. Fly off for a while until it recharges. Come back and strafe them again. I mean, there are lots of different crazy things the dragons can do besides sit there on the ground like a lump and let everybody surround them and beat on them, you know? So I would play that blue dragon like a maniac and give my players a run for their money. Arthur says we should do a Discord-specific fiction channel to DDO. Okay. Moving on. Oh, Arthur's on his 6th leader now. Dude. Calm down, man. You're going to be like... Wiggles says Sith Lord and Subcycle have been... Dude, Subcycle is the man. Sith Lord, Subcycle. So Subcycle is awesome. I love that dude. So he's Tactical Tokens. He was on here. I don't know if he's still on here. Are you still on, Dave? He's a Subcycle, Tactical Tokens. Okay, here we go. On that note, Wiggles, we're gonna give him a plug because he has been really helpful on the Discord. Tactical Tokens. Here we go. Stand by. All right, guys, we are shifting to my desktop. I'm going to show you some of these things that this guy makes as well. I want you guys to check this dude out. He makes these little tokens. They're little game tokens instead of miniatures that you can use. They're fairly inexpensive, and they are super well made. You can see little pictures of them right here. This is his site. It's just tacticaltokens.com, and you can see like the images of the token. I have several of these. I'm going to get them real quick. I want to show them to you. So I supported him on his Kickstarter, and I got a bunch of these things, and I want to show these to you because they're really, really cool. They're really well made. These are high quality things, and so basically, I'm gonna get the big camera. Let's get the big camera so you can get a better picture of this. But he makes these little tokens, and there we go. They're little thin tokens. Got two sides. One's colored, one's not colored. I just dropped it. They're pretty good quality. He gave me some with my DM Lair logo on it, right? There's one side and there's the other side. So they're really, really cool. So if you're looking for like tokens or something to run in your game, then I would go check this dude out. They're really freaking sweet. They're really well made. They're really high quality. The graphics and stuff are good. I mean, so yeah, check this dude out. They're cheaper than miniatures, for sure. And they're not, I don't like the paper things. Like, the paper minis that are, like, on stands and stuff, oh, I just don't like them. They just seem kind of, like, meh. So, anyway, there you go. I'm plugging the dude. He's in my Discord. He's Subcycle. He's been awesome in the Discord, so he got a plug. There we go. All right, let's move on. Whoa! I think I'm out of questions. But Vincent is saying with side initiative, I don't mind the swinging nature of it. I like chaos, but I can 100% see why. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's with a lot of things with dungeon mastering and with the game, there isn't necessarily a right or wrong way. Okay, now I would wipe the sweat away. There probably are things that I would consider wrong. Okay, but the vast majority of things, it's just like personal preference. It's what works best for you. It's what you like. It's what your players like. It's what works best at your table for your players. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. All right, Wiggles is taking off. He's struggling to stay awake. Me too, buddy. I'm out of here. I'm at the bottom of the chat, and I have no questions left. That means that I'm signing off. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to bed. You all should go to bed. Arthur, let me know in the Discord how many leaders you get to. Not that I'm challenging you, just morbid curiosity, I suppose. So that's that. I'm going to take off here, guys. It's been fun hanging out with you. In 2 weeks, we will have another live stream, so I hope to see you there again. And until next time, let's play D&D. That's like my normal sign-off. I'm out of here. Bye-bye.